Hey, what's up? It's Cute What If? This side. Today we will be seeing what if Deku was hidden musical genius. Before we move ahead with the FIC, leave a like and subscribe to the channel for future what ifs like this. This story begins with Class 1A just being Class 1A. Kaminari, Kirishima, and Siro were playing the new multiplayer hack-and-slash game on the TV in the common area. The three had convinced Midoriya to ask Hatsum to make a console that could play every format, from PC and home consoles to handhelds and mobile. Koda, Shoji, and Tokoyami watched them play. Sato and Ojiro sat in the kitchen eating the newest cake Sato had baked while discussing the baking show they had watched the night before. Aoyama and Mineta were nearby, with Aoyama striking a dramatic pose and Mineta reacting. Todoroki was in his room, connecting red strings to a large corkboard pinned with pictures of multiple people and notes full of theories. Ida was talking with Uraraka and Azui about their recent training progress. Mina, Hagakure, and Jiro were talking on the other side of the common room, with Hagakure flailing her arms in excitement about what she was describing, when Momo entered the room with a notebook in hand. Momo asked if anyone had seen Midoriya. She intended to return the notes she had borrowed to compare with her own. Mina answered that no one had seen him since the previous night. Bakugou reacted angrily, saying Midoriya had told him they were going to train that day. He stormed off immediately, and an explosion was heard from upstairs. Everyone followed after him, with Todoroki leaving his room as well when he heard the noise. They found Midoriya's door wide open and broken. Momo found a note attached to the door. The note explained that Midoriya would be gone for up to a week because All Might had invited him to go fishing at sea after seeing a show about it. He warned everyone not to touch his things, especially his figurines, and promised to take pictures and videos to show them when he returned. He added a postscript asking Bakugou to replace his door, teasing that Bakugou would probably destroy it without reading the note. Momo said that answered their question. Bakugou cursed and declared that Midoriya owed him a week of training when he got back. Ida reminded Bakugou that since Midoriya was away, Bakugou should replace the door, demonstrating his usual strict posture as he spoke. Bakugou refused loudly. Mina then noticed something poking out from under Midoriya's bed. She pulled it out and discovered a collection of CDs, 2 baskets worth, arranged neatly with song titles on the covers. Mina announced that Midoriya had made some music. Jiro wondered why Midoriya had not mentioned it during the school festival. Kirishima asked Bakugou if he had known about it. Bakugou insisted he had not known Midoriya could sing. Mina read the title of one disc aloud and identified a song named Immortals, then asked Jiro if he had speakers and a CD player so they could set it up in the common area on the TV. Ida objected that they should not snoop through Midoriya's belongings because it would violate his trust. Hagakure suggested they vote on it, and everyone except Ida raised their hands. Seeing he was outnumbered, Ida relented but stipulated that they would put everything back when they were done. They carried Jiro's player and speakers to the common area, set them up with the TV, and put the CD in to listen. The music began with a steady, driving chorus about being something eternal and defiant, then moved into lines that painted images of time and memory. The song spoke of being watchers and guardians of fever dreams, of sand in the hourglass, and of an inability to picture life without someone. The repeated refrain contemplated the idea of living as if immortal, if only for a short while, pulling the blackout curtains down and staying together for whatever time remained. The melody swelled through repeated oohs and a steady and themic rhythm that filled the common room. We could be immortals. Sometimes, the only payoff for having any faith is when it's tested again and again every day. He kept comparing someone else's past to his own future. It might be their wound, but it was his work to help. I am the sand in the bottom half of the hourglass. He tried to picture himself without that person, but he could not. They could be immortals, if only not forever, and live together for now and draw the blackout curtains. The thought of being immortal gleamed but slipped away with time. Mina exclaimed that it had been amazing. Siro responded that he knew and was surprised Midoriya could actually sing. Ojiro suggested Midoriya should have been part of the singing crew during the festival. Kirishima remarked that the song had been full of bravado. Tokoyami observed that by immortalizing their souls, they also immortalized their struggles and victories. It had been a compelling song. Hagakure announced that she would pick the next track. Hagakure searched through the neatly organized pile of CDs and selected one with an intriguing title. She said the next track was named Time Bomb. Momo wondered aloud why someone would name a song after a destructive device. Kaminari joked that he would believe it more if Bakugou had made the song instead of Midoriya. Bakugou exploded at Kaminari for the comment, scolding him sharply. Hagakure started the song and returned to her seat. From the beginning, it felt hard to control, like a crash sending everything spinning. On a wire, they danced like two kids with no consequences, pulling triggers without thinking with only one way down the road. It was like a time bomb set into motion. They felt destined to explode, and if one had to pull someone out of the wreckage, they would not let go. They were like a time bomb, ready to lose it but wanting to defuse it. Hearts felt like ticking time bombs that went off and started again. When things broke, they fixed them. They should have known better, but they would not let go. Sato wondered who the singer was referring to as a time bomb. Mineta demanded to know why the singer had used the word baby and whether he might have a secret girlfriend. The girls of Class 1A all wondered if Midoriya really had a girlfriend. A voice at the door commented that it was some manly music and asked who had been singing. Everyone in Class A looked toward the doorway and saw Tetsu with the rest of Class B standing there. Ida asked what had brought them to the dorms. Kendo explained that they had thought to have a slumber party and had heard music, so they assumed Class 1A was hosting something. Setsuna asked if they were going to tell who had been singing. Uraraka said they were listening to songs created by Midoriya. Shishida asked if Midoriya could sing. Shiro confirmed that he sang very well and that they were all surprised. Azui wondered if he had written any love songs. The girls in both classes collectively wondered whether any of the songs were about them. Class B made themselves at home in the 1A dorm and brought out extra snacks to share. Kaminari volunteered to pick the next track. He rummaged through the basket and chose a CD with a title that amused him. He announced the title as, "Your Nickel Ain't Worth My Dime." Aways found the title interesting and asked what it meant. Momo explained that a dime was worth more than a nickel, since it took 2 nickels to equal a dime. Hananuki admitted he was lost. Jiro asked Kaminari to just play the song, and Kaminari agreed. Midoriya's song began with a heartfelt confession about finding a love that swept him off his feet, describing someone who made him feel whole and inspired him to write. When he sang about stepping out and drawing attention, everyone in the room fell silent. Kendo wondered if this was a love song. Sato asked if Midoriya was in love. Ojiro questioned who he might be in love with, and the girls of both classes immediately hoped it was directed at them. The lyrics shifted toward a more NTMT tone, and many students blushed at how personal it sounded. Shizuki reacted with surprise, Hagakure remarked on Midoriya's perceived innocence, and Yanagi mused that his innocence had been challenged. Uraraka hesitated, and Setsuna joked that his innocence had become something more mischievous. As the song continued, it grew romantic and earnest rather than XPLCT, and the girls became even more convinced it might be for one of them. Mineta complained about a double standard, and Azui pointed out bluntly that his behavior made him a creep. Momo gasped at the emotion in the music. Setsuna and Shoji both noted how unexpectedly bold Midoriya's piece felt compared to his usual shy demeanor. Mina playfully teased Momo about Midoriya's affection. Momo blushed deeply and tried to shake off the imagined scenarios. The other girls privately wished the song had been for them. A voice at the door commented on the unusual scene, and everyone turned to find most of the teachers standing there, with Principal Nizu present and Aizawa wearing his capture scarf. Ida asked why the teachers had come. Aizawa explained that Vlad had checked the dorm and found it empty, so he had alerted the staff. They had rushed over and discovered both classes listening to a recording. Azui explained that they were listening to music created by Midoriya. Present Mike expressed astonishment that he could compose music. Sato confirmed that they had heard 3 of his songs so far, including the last one, which had sounded like a love song aimed at Momo. Principal Nizu suggested taking the CDs to the multimedia room and invited everyone to move there. The students gathered their discs and snacks and followed the teachers. They also invited a few guests, including Inko Midoriya, Eri, Kota, representatives from the World Wrestling Partnership, the big three of UA, and a few available pro heroes. In the multimedia room, Nizu used a randomizer to decide who would choose the next track. Komori's name appeared. Komori volunteered to pick and selected a song titled, "I'll Fight," a choice that Mandalay noted fit Komori's personality, given how she had protected Koda. The next song began with a motivational opening about running freely, refusing to be held back by darkness, and not fearing getting lost, setting a hopeful, determined tone for the listeners. The song opened with a promise to see someone fly beyond the sun, to make their dreams come true. The singer vowed that if the person ever fell, he would fight for them and be there no matter the place or time. Pixie Bob wondered aloud if the singer meant that he would fight for this person no matter what. Ryukyu observed that he must care deeply to be willing to do whatever it takes. The song continued with offers to take the person wherever they wanted to go, wishing the road could be easier and life fairer, expressing a desire to spare them tears. The singer promised that if they ever fell and lost the strength to stand, he would reach for their hand and help carry any burden when times were rough. Nijire commented that it was a warm gesture. Tsunatori asked what she meant, and Nijire explained that the singer was saying he would always have this person's back, lifting them up in low moments and helping shoulder their burdens. Midnight teased that she would not mind being carried by him in a playful tone. Nizu sprayed her with a water bottle and reminded her to behave. The chorus returned, reiterating that no matter where the person went, the singer would be found and would help them back to their feet whenever needed. Midoriya dedicated the song to his best friend Uraraka, promising always to be there for her, fighting with her and fighting for her. Uraraka became a blushing mess and accidentally activated her quirk, floating above everyone as she covered her face. Azui used her tongue to gently bring Uraraka back to her seat. 13 asked if that meant she had won the bet. Mina asked what bet that was. 13 explained that the other staff had placed a wager on which of the girls would end up with Midoriya, and hers had been Uraraka. Present Mike admitted his bet had been Jiro. Vlad King said he had voted for Kendo. Ectoplasm said he had chosen Azui. RG had picked Shiozaki. Aizawa had voted for Yayarozu. Midnight admitted she had voted for herself. Power Loader said his vote had been for Mei, claiming Midoriya was the only one who got her to eat and sleep. Cementos had picked Kodai. Snipe had gone with Komori. Hound Dog had chosen Setsuna. Present Mike added that Nizu joked about being polyamorous and that All Might had not picked anyone, only saying he knew more than he let on. They used a randomizer to pick a song, and Snipe stood up to look through the basket. He commented that Angel with a shotgun was an interesting choice. Setsuna suggested it sounded like Shiozaki's thing. Shiozaki protested that she would never think such a thing of an angel. Snipe then announced that the song was addressed to Shiozaki, saying that she made him feel like an angel with a shotgun. Shiozaki could not help but blush at the thought that the song might be for her or that Midoriya had written it for her. The lyrics described fighting until the war was won, loving so fiercely that he would throw away his faith to keep the person safe, declaring that they were everything he had and that he wanted to live, not just survive, tonight. Setsuna teased Shiozaki, asking if Midoriya was a saint or a sinner for fighting for her love. Kendo asked if Shiozaki would accept him even if heaven would not. Komori asked if she would still accept him even if he gave up his faith. Shiozaki replied shyly that they would see, turning her head away to hide her blush and avoid further teasing. Monoma protested loudly at the teasing, but Kendo quickly silenced him with a swift, non-graphic defensive move. Monoma apologized, and Vlad King sighed and shook his head. The song continued, touching on the idea that sometimes to win you have to take risks and stand up for what you love. They listened to the songs, the room filling with music that spoke of fights worth fighting and the fierce devotion of someone willing to lay everything on the line for love. The chorus of the last song hammered the image of a protector who would do anything to keep another safe. Tetsu observed that it was a very manly tune. Kirishima agreed and teased that he had not realized Midoriya held such beliefs. Midnight joked that he could be a soldier fighting for her love, and Ragdoll and He Lady echoed that sentiment, saying nothing felt more romantic than someone willing to fight for love. Inko reflected with quiet pride that she had not expected her son to be so passionate and mentioned that he likely took that trait from his father. Mirko thought Inko looked young enough to be a sister, and Inko accepted the compliment with a laugh, noting that her youthful appearance had once made it hard to find work when employers frequently asked for identification. Every woman present except Ragdoll privately resolved to make a good impression on Izuku's mother so she might bless any future relationship with him. Nizu suggested they take a quick lunch break and continue listening afterward. After lunch, they returned to their seats and resumed the listening party. The randomizer selected Mandalay to choose the next track. Mandalay picked a CD and read its title aloud before explaining that the back of the case contained a line about looking back someday and asking the same question again, and that when that day came, the answer would be found. Hawks guessed it was related to Midoriya's past, and Nizu agreed, noting that the title was a question for everyone and that he looked forward to hearing it. Midoriya began to sing a song that spoke to the pain of feeling inadequate and the exhaustion of carrying burdens alone. He expressed through the melody a weariness and a fear of being found as he was, but also a stubborn resolve to put his heart and soul into what mattered. The lyrics conveyed how the world had changed him and raised the question of identity, who he was now, whether he had been broken apart, and whether he would fight back for what he wanted. The song carried an undercurrent of falling and rising, of needing to fail before learning to fly. Kendo commented on the way he sounded. Aizawa observed that Midoriya had sounded defeated, the sort of tone that suggested a childhood of being constantly put down and labeled a problem child whose struggles had been hidden. Most of the girls from classes 1A and 1B listened in silence, many moved to tears by the way Midoriya had turned his past feelings into music. Kirishima asked Bakugou about Midoriya's history and what had happened in school. Bakugou admitted that he and Midoriya had been like brothers, and when the others learned Midoriya was thought to be without a quirk, their behavior toward him changed. The other kids bullied him for being quirkless. Bakugou had defended him whenever he could, but he could not always be there, and during those absences Midoriya was harmed. When they told teachers, some ignored the complaints and a few even encouraged the bullying. Bakugou said he always tried to get Midoriya out of danger, but the mistreatment had continued for years. Ragdoll asked how long it had gone on. Bakugou answered that it had lasted 10 years. A collective gasp spread through the room. The realization that the kindest boy they knew had endured such sustained suffering weighed heavily on everyone. Bakugou apologized to Inko for revealing this now, explaining that Midoriya had not wanted his mother to carry any additional burden. Inko understood, her life had already been affected by people discovering her son's situation, and she had even lost a job because of it. The news that her son had suffered so deeply was heartbreaking, and Mirko sat beside her to offer comfort. Nizu asked for the name of Midoriya's former school. Bakugou replied that it had been Aldra Junior High. Nizu instructed Aizawa that they would launch an investigation into the matter, and he asked Hound Dog to speak with Midoriya when he returned. Aizawa confirmed they would follow up, and Hound Dog agreed to talk to Midoriya. The song ended on a plea not to be awakened from a life that felt wrong, a mixture of anger at who he had been and a longing to take back what mattered. The group sat with that weight between them for a moment before the listening party continued. The song opened with lines about hating one's own reflection, questioning every choice, and pretending to be perfect while feeling fake. It asked for forgiveness and declared indifference to a world that had changed him, then called for someone to state who they were now and to fight back for what they wanted. The chorus urged that sometimes one must fall before flying, that trying is part of truly living, and that what was felt in the heart had been real all along. It ended with a hope that, when the listener opened their eyes, they would find who they were. Jiro noted that he could hear the pain in those words. Yanagi observed that, despite everything, his spirit had never wavered and remained uncorruptible. Tokoyami reflected that the darkness had tried to swallow him but had been repelled by the brightness of his will. After the song ended, everyone had a better understanding of Midoriya, even if just a little. Kirishima and Tetsu shed tears of admiration. Kirishima said that Midoriya was truly manly for facing such things and still coming out a hero. Tetsu agreed and said his respect had skyrocketed. They should follow his example of being a man and a hero. Kirishima praised his drive. Ryukyu remarked that it was surprising he had been hiding such pain behind bright smiles. Milady said those smiles now felt more special to receive. The randomizer selected a different name. Next, Nijire. Nijire was excited for her turn. As she browsed through the CDs, she noticed one that contained 3 songs, I Need to Know, Sleepless in Phoenix, and Do You Love Me? Mirio suggested the songs sounded heavy, Kamakiri guessed emotional, and Kodai called them depressing. Nijire put the CD in and returned to her seat. The next song spoke of a pretty face and a broken heart, of 2 lovers destined to be torn apart. It told of needing space and carrying scars, blaming the other person for the tears. The singer insisted he had never wanted to own or hold the other down, instead imagining another place or time and saying goodbye until another life. MT Lady wondered aloud whether Midoriya had a previous girlfriend. Bakugou swore in reaction, earning a sharp reminder from Ida about language and the presence of children. Momo hesitated and asked if Midoriya had had a previous lover. Bakugou sighed and admitted that Midoriya had been involved with someone before, but it had not ended well. Midnight asked for clarification. Bakugou explained that the girl had played him and cheated, tormenting him in the end. Every woman in the room who cared for Midoriya went silent and felt anger at the thought of anyone treating him that way. The song continued, asking whether the other person would remember the singer's name when night came and the rain fell, and whether feelings would remain when the morning came and drinks flowed. It repeated the need to know if the feelings were the same. Ojiro asked Bakugou if Midoriya had behaved the way the song described. Bakugou answered that it had happened once, and he urged their elder not to scold him. He recounted finding Midoriya humiliated by that girl on a rainy day and later discovering him in an empty park with a half-full bottle of his uncle Hisashi's whiskey. His uncle had already been drunk. Bakugou had taken Midoriya home that night and lied about what had happened. He acknowledged that Midoriya had made him promise not to tell, but he no longer felt bound by that promise. Hound Dog said they would likely have more sessions with Midoriya and reminded everyone that drinking to drown troubles was not the right answer, though she understood why it sometimes happened. The next song declared the other person to be the singer's universe and themselves a falling star, insisting there had been no others and that they knew it from the start. It recounted a desire for a love that felt real and the giving of everything someone could feel. The scene preserved the tension and concern among friends, the revelations about past hurt, and the shared resolve to support and understand Midoriya as the music continued to play. It always felt like they were out there alone, searching for new life without knowing what they might find. When the night called and the rain started falling, would he still remember their name? When he was out until morning and the drinks kept pouring, would he feel the same? The need to know pressed like a question without answer. Sometimes when you love someone you have to let them go. Would he feel the same in the pouring rain? Would he scream that name? The need to know never left. Kaminari noted that it was heavy. Shota observed that despite everything he persevered with a smile. He was not just a hero, he seemed almost saintly. Setsuna asked Shiozaki what he thought. Shiozaki reflected that he did not have the right to declare someone a saint, but Midoriya had that quality. Perhaps angelic. His heart remained pure despite the suffering he had endured. Bondo announced that the next song was starting. Just remember to forget me. I hate this honestly. Please take this the wrong way. I don't need you to need me. I need you to disappear. He carried ghosts of the things that had been said, but even that could not bring them home. Night after night, sleepless in Phoenix, tell me a lie and make me believe it. They held him right where he haunted them. Hawks interpreted that this was him finally coming to terms with what had happened. Endeavor agreed, noting that he was channeling his anger into the piece. Your pieces were right there, but nothing really fit. The wish for reciprocation lingered, then the urge to vanish. He carried those ghosts and tried to lay his bones to rest. Night after night, sleepless in Phoenix, they wanted a lie to make it bearable. He held them right where he haunted them. Night after night, they needed him to know this. It tore them apart. They hoped he felt some of the same hopelessness. There was a resolve to kiss the past goodbye. Midnight quietly hoped to be there to support him when he returned from his trip. Nizu was about to spray her when someone spoke and stopped him. Mirko challenged who had claimed him, and Ryukyu warned Mirko not to start. Mirko prodded further, and Ryukyu blushed before firing back with a teasing retort. Ryukyu then joked that Mirko kept a photo of him and could not wait to dote on him. Inko pictured how many grandchildren she might one day spoil. The two traded short, playful jabs, exchanging teasing insults and quick comebacks. Their banter stayed light, full of energy and competitive warmth rather than malice. Endeavor leaned toward Hawks and asked if he would not stop the teasing. Hawks replied with a grin that stopping would mean losing the fun. He had thought they were friends. Inko said that what she wanted most was for her son to finish his schooling and be happy. She asked them to let him graduate first and to love and support him, and that thought made the women who cared for him pause. Each briefly imagined caring for him and supporting him together. Nizu proposed that they listen to the last song and take a small break, a chance to breathe and process everything they had discovered. When I scream at the top of my lungs, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" Begging to cut me loose. And you're holding the knife. I'm drowning under the surface. You left me broken, bruised, begging for my life. What did I do to deserve this? You make me feel like I am worthless. Why can't I stop the bleeding? Kaminari cheered that he had no idea Midoriya could do that. Todoroki commented that he hoped it did not hurt Midoriya's vocal cords. When I scream at the top of my lungs, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" When I scream, what have I become? Do you love me? Do you love me? I'm hanging from the noose, fighting to stay alive. I'm crawling back to the surface. Can't take much more abuse. Don't know if I'll survive. I did nothing to deserve this. You make me feel like I am worthless. Why can't I stop the bleeding? When I scream at the top of my lungs, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" When I scream, what have I become? Do you love me? Do you love me? Falling for you is my biggest regret. The harder I love you, the sicker I get. When I scream from the top of my lungs, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" I'm not worthless. When I scream at the top of my lungs, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" When I scream, what have I become? Do you love me? Do you love me? Falling for you is my biggest regret. The harder I love you, the sicker I get. When I scream from the top of my lungs, "Do you love me? Do you love me?" Setsuna admitted that the line hit hard, praising Midoriya's lyric about regret and the intensity of love. Uraraka observed that Midoriya expressed himself more clearly through songs and suggested they continue listening. Nizu announced that they would figure things out after a short break and asked everyone to return in 15 minutes. Once their quick break was over, everyone returned to their seats to listen to more of Midoriya's music. The randomizers started again and Siro's name came up. Siro exclaimed that it was his time to shine. He noticed a CD with Midoriya on the cover doing a robotic pose and laughed, saying he would pick it because Midoriya looked funny. He read the title acronym aloud, HYSUEBICH. When my roommate comes into the room looking for his car keys. I don't say it yet. And when he gets me off the couch to check underneath the couch cushions. I don't say it yet, no. And then when he says out loud, "I wonder where my car keys are." I still don't say it. But then he asks me, "Do you know where my car keys are?" I look at him in his face and I say. Todoroki noted that the piece sounded like someone talking over a beat. Suburaba observed that this style was very different from the other songs. The performance took a sudden turn into a crude joke that made several people uneasy. Somebody paused the music and everyone fell silent, a few mouths open in shock. Aways reacted with disbelief at what had just been heard. Present Mike asked whether that was really what the acronym meant. Aizawa rubbed the bridge of his nose and muttered "problem child" under his breath. Kaminari urged everyone to move on and continue. When I see the best man start to sweat. I don't say it yet. When I see that little ring bearer being scolded by his mother. I still don't say it. When I see the groom asking the vicar if they can wait just another 15 minutes. I do not say it. And when the father of the bride starts organizing an impromptu group in the courtyard area. I want to, but I do not say it. It's the 11th hour with 300 congregants under the roof. The vicar approaches the mic, and suddenly all of the chatter goes mute. He says that they've misplaced the rings. Could anyone possibly know where they are? I know it's my time, and all heads turn as I stand and say "Vicar." Ibra pleaded with Izuku in the church, praying that he would not say those dreadful words to the vicar. Izuku caught himself and stopped before continuing with the crude joke. Ibra reacted in shock and anger at the near slip, and Momo urgently told Izuku to stop. A brief awkward silence settled over the room. Hawks admitted that he liked the song they had just heard and joked that he might play it for his superiors at the Hero Public Safety Commission if they overworked him again. Nizu found the idea amusing and said he would use it for the same purpose. The randomizer fired up again and Reiko's name appeared. She walked over to the CDs and found something that surprised her. She had not expected Midoriya to enjoy darker music. Tokoyami, intrigued by anything that dwelt in shadows, asked Reiko to explain. Reiko said the song was titled Paranoia and that Shinso, Senior Togata, and Senior Amajiki were featured on the track. Everyone glanced at Mirio and Tamaki. Mirio remembered that Midoriya had asked them to join him for the song and said they had enjoyed recording it. Tamaki admitted that he did not like being stared at. Kurwaro suggested they listen. Shinso started the first verse, singing about how there were always two sides to a story and how he never fit neatly into others' expectations. He acknowledged that people saw him as the bad guy and warned anyone who tried to challenge him. He spoke of having a troubled past and feeling watched, yet he refused to be found. Kaminari commented on how deep the voice sounded and asked who was singing. Mirio identified Shinso, and students from classes A and B reacted with surprise at the revelation. Midoriya took the next part, moving through the beat with quiet intensity and a sense of urgency. He described moving silently through trouble and steeling himself to face whatever came, promising to show how to make an impact. Midoriya, Shinso, Tamaki, and Mirio sang together about how people were quick to hope for someone's downfall and how jealousy followed success. They reflected on the weight of being in the spotlight and the resentment that could come with it. Mirio delivered a confident verse about ignoring those who spoke ill of him and earning recognition. He described his strength and resilience, how he had been underestimated and how he pushed forward despite challenges. He spoke of a heavy heart that was hard to lift but remained steadfast from beginning to end. Kirishima remarked that those were strong, manly lines, and Tetsu said he felt pumped to train again. The chorus returned with Midoriya and the others reaffirming the theme of paranoia, moving quietly, facing trouble at their heels, and crashing through obstacles while others hoped for their failure. The group performance captured the tension and determination that ran through everyone present. Tamaki sang about wanting a long, romantic goodnight, hoping for grand gestures, and about needing silence and privacy to heal. He reflected that even rock stars had feelings, and that life sometimes repeated like a drill. Midoriya, Shinso, Tamaki, and Mirio joined in on a chorus about how, whenever someone rose in prominence, others seemed to hope they would fall, and how envy had followed since they gained more. Pixie Bob admired how cool the song sounded. Mirio explained that after their first collaboration they had jumped in every time Midoriya invited them to sing. Present Mike asked where they were recording, and Mirio said that Midoriya had a studio on the UA grounds, built with permission from Principal Nizu and help from Cementos. Nizu noted with a small smile that this was what the space had been used for. The randomizer popped out Tsunatori's name. Pony eagerly chose a box and selected I Write Sins Not Tragedies. Setsuna grinned and suggested playfully teasing Midoriya during the round. Ibra firmly denied any such idea and dismissed the notion. Midnight offered a mischievous smile and said she would not mind joining the fun. Aizawa and Nizu lightly scolded Midnight for the remark before the next song began. As the song played, the group imagined a scene in a church corridor where someone overheard a hushed exchange at a wedding. A bridesmaid remarked on how beautiful the wedding was and then, in a whisper, wondered sadly about the groom's bride, implying she had not been faithful. Everyone reacted in surprise to the whispered accusation. Mineta admitted that he had once shown Midoriya some reading material, and then noticed that Izuku had disposed of it. Jiro moved an earphone plug nearer in mock threat, warning Mineta to explain himself. Mineta confessed and the others chastised him lightly. Momo approved that Midoriya had handled the situation properly. Midnight giggled at the commotion. Aizawa used the moment to remind them all why gossip was best avoided. The song continued with a narrator reflecting that, in a pragmatic light, the marriage might still be saved and that the situation called for a toast and some champagne. The group shifted between amusement and exasperation, And the chorus returned to the idea that people should simply close the door and face difficult situations with poise and rationality. Nizu commented that the performance had been interesting. Awase admitted she had not known the song before but enjoyed its beat. The randomizer spun again and landed on Setsuna. Setsuna lit up, ready to perform, and checked the next selection, Can't Stop the Feeling, which she thought could be either fun or romantic. I got this feeling inside my bones. It goes electric, wavy when I turn it on. All through my city, all through my home. We're flying up, no ceiling when we are in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my feet. I feel that warm rush in my body when it drops. I can't take my eyes off it, moving so phenomenally. Room on lock, the way we rock it, so don't stop. And under the lights when everything goes. Nowhere to hide when the music brings everyone close. When we move, well, you already know. So just imagine. Mina noted that the song was upbeat and that her legs wanted to groove with it. Nothing she could see but the crowd. When everyone danced and moved. A good feeling creeping up on them. So they kept dancing. All those things anyone might worry about faded as they danced. And no one was leaving soon, so they kept dancing. They couldn't stop the feeling, so they danced on. They couldn't stop the feeling, so they danced on. It felt magical, in the air and in their blood, rushing through. They didn't need a reason or control. They felt as if they could fly, no ceiling when they were in their zone. Because they had that sunshine in their pockets and good souls in their feet. They felt that warm rush in their bodies when the music dropped. They couldn't take their eyes off the movement, it was phenomenal. The room was locked by the way they rocked it, so they didn't stop. And under the lights when everything went. Nowhere to hide when the music brought everyone close. When they moved, everyone already knew. So they imagined. By this time, most of the people listening were dancing, except for a few like Aizawa, Vlad King and Endeavor. Bakugou, Todoroki, Tokoyami, Kamakiri, Monoma, and Kurwaro remained in their seats but bobbed their heads to the beat. Eri and Koda were having fun dancing with the two classes as the other pros joined in as well. Nothing to see but each other as they danced. A good feeling creeping up on the group. So they kept dancing. All those things they might have worried about were set aside. And no one planned on leaving soon, so they kept dancing. They couldn't stop the feeling so they danced, and they kept dancing. Everyone celebrated after the song ended and laughed at the fun they had just shared. Toru exclaimed that Izzy was the best and that it had been so much fun. Mina suggested that they should have Izzy as a DJ for their next slumber party. Ochako wondered how many of his songs were like that, and Kirishima wondered if he had some hype tracks. They talked for a bit before listening to the other songs Izuku had collected. Meanwhile, Izuku and All Might were on a fairly large boat that All Might had bought for this trip. They had a custom cooler filled with seawater for the fish they would catch, drinks in the boat's fridge, and enough food to last the day. So far they had caught some sori, which were now swimming in the cooler. As they discussed what they would do with their catch, Midoriya felt a strong tug on his line and thought it would be another sori, but he was surprised by what was on the other end, a massive tuna, about 12 feet long and weighing roughly 850 kilograms. Izuku asked All Might for help, explaining that the fish was pulling hard and threatened to pull him into the ocean. All Might tensed, readied himself, and then together they pulled on the count. A huge tuna came over the side and landed in the boat with a thud, startling them both. All Might reacted with astonishment at the size of their catch and suggested they could sell it and have someone cook it for them. Midoriya agreed and proposed selling it to a seafood restaurant and asking the chef to prepare it. They placed the live tuna in the cooler and Izuku became excited to tell his friends when he returned. Back at UA, the randomizer fired up again to choose the next person to pick a song, Mirko. Mirko declared that it was her turn and began rummaging through the pile. Empty Lady suggested she might find a song dedicated to her, which made Mirko blush. She found a track titled Rise and thought it sounded like a dedication to every hero risking their lives to do the right thing. As Mirko sat down, the music started playing. Midoriya introduced the lineup, listing Shinso, Tamaki, and Mirio, and announced that it was his set. Tamaki opened with a wild, defiant verse, welcoming everyone to the climb and the battle ahead, urging listeners to pick up their courage and seize the prize despite the risks. Kirishima felt certain the song was going to be good. Tetsu admitted that his excitement was already racing. Mirio, Tamaki, and Midoriya pushed the energy higher, describing the chase that lived deep in the bones and calling this the moment to rise. Mirio and Midoriya encouraged everyone to prove themselves and rise, to make people remember them, and to keep chasing the crown downtown despite the cost. They repeated the call to push through hardship and rise. Momo remarked that there was something familiar about the song she couldn't quite place. Jiro noted that with Midoriya involved, there was always an element of surprise. Tamaki continued, framing the climb to the summit as a test where one wrong step could mean the end. Mirio, Tamaki, and Midoriya again urged listeners to take to the skies and seize the moment. Mirio and Midoriya kept reinforcing the chorus, insisting that they would be remembered for pushing through and rising, chasing the crown downtown. Mirio teased that the best part was coming. Kendo asked what she meant. Midoriya leaned into a more personal verse, rapping about rising together, refusing to be modest, and shining when they entered like a scene from a movie. He referenced the raw, rebellious energy of heavy music and the mirror reflecting the person he was becoming. He urged listeners to pick up their courage, noting that no one could stop them, and that the crowd might not believe in them until they proved themselves. He warned against idle talk and emphasized action. He described walking his own path, watching through the monitor, and joked about everyday items becoming his tools in battle, as he aimed to overcome gravity and rise all the way to the moon. Momo excitedly realized Midoriya had sung part of the verse in another language. Mirio said they had been surprised, too, when he switched to that part. Inko remembered signing Midoriya up for various language lessons when he was young because he showed interest, and she had not expected him to incorporate them into his music. Sato praised Midoriya's rapping skills. Midnight reacted with amusement, and several admirers smiled shyly. Mirio and Midoriya returned to the chorus, repeating their determination to rise and be remembered, to push through hardship and chase the crown downtown. Principal Nizu praised Midoriya's motivating performance. Kirishima agreed and said they would show what heroes could do. Mirko expressed eagerness to get into action. Ryukyu cautioned her to channel that energy into something productive. Mirko made an offhand remark that was inappropriate for the setting. Ryukyu pointed out that children were present, and Mirko immediately adjusted her tone when she realized her mistake. The group calmed down, and a new name from the randomizer appeared, Ryukyu. Ryukyu stood and selected a random CD, smiling when she noticed a collaboration with Amajiki. She blushed slightly and took a seat beside Mirko before the song began. Midoriya's earlier verse returned to a quieter, reflective mood, singing about feeling like he'd been away for a long time, tired of travel and small souvenirs, shivering at night and thinking of someone far away. Midoriya and Tamaki sang together as they wandered the boulevards, staring up at the stars and wishing they would all align. They described how Tokyo kept them on their toes, how it never left their minds. They asked if the other was having fun yet and promised to send the sunset that they loved most in Tokyo. They said they would melt in the moonlight and follow the shoreline down the coast when they were in Tokyo. They admitted they could not sleep the whole night through and missed the other, thinking it out loud and wishing they could reach out and hold the other close when they were in Tokyo. Mirko teased that the green-haired young man seemed to miss Ryukyu a lot. Ryukyu stammered and told her to stop. Ibra asked Ryukyu not to use the Lord's name in vain. Mirko continued, teasing that their resident dragon was ready to make the green-haired young man part of her horde. Ryukyu blushed and looked away. The randomizer selected Koda, who nervously chose a song titled Free Now before returning to his seat. Koda dedicated the song to others like him who had no quirks, hoping it would inspire and resonate with them. He sang that he had written the song for his father, wondering whether his father had ever truly understood him despite raising him as he should. He sang that he had also written it for his mother, who had left when he was younger and told him to seek life with an open mind. Koda voiced that he felt free now, free to live without his fears, and that he believed there was a reason why he was here, to try to do good and to try to do better. Ochako called to Midoriya, and Ida observed that Midoriya's emotions were pouring through the performance. Kirishima and Tetsu already had tears in their eyes, moved by the song. Kota continued, asking who he would be for his daughter and saying that the little baby meant the world to him. He questioned whether he would repeat the mistakes of the past or do things the right way for her sake. Inko asked if he was referring to Eri. Ryukyu thought he was. Mandalay believed he would be an amazing father to both Eri and Kota. Eri beamed at the mention of being imagined as Midoriya's daughter, while Kota, agreeing that he wanted to be Izuku's son, hid his embarrassment. Kota sang about dreaming of the day when their children could play in the streets without fear of being taken away, about fathers raising their sons with respect and love, handling anger and pain without resorting to weapons. He urged that if they hoped to be free, it would take everyone to start over here and now, because the world was shaped by how they raised their children. He repeated that he had written the song for his mother and for their father, and expressed hope that people could come together and make things a little better. I am free now, free to live without my fears. I believe now, there's a reason why I'm here. Can I be a man, one that understands how to love more patiently? I am free now, I am free now. I am free now, I am free now. A few people were crying and sniffling from the song they had just heard, most notably Kirishima and Tetsu. Kirishima said that Midobro was such a man and that he wanted to live up to his ideals. Tetsu agreed that Midobro was someone they should aspire to be. Nizu suggested they pause for the night and resume tomorrow morning, proposing that Class 1A and 1B could have their planned slumber activity with the children while the adults used the guest rooms in the dorms. Everyone agreed, and they returned to the Class 1A dorms where they ordered food and enjoyed themselves before finally going to sleep. They took measures to ensure everyone's privacy and comfort for the night. The students of 1A and 1B rose early to prepare themselves. They made breakfast, took showers, and gathered in the multimedia room with the other adults and teachers, taking the same seats as the previous day to listen to more of Izuku's music. Toru wondered aloud about what music they would hear that day. Mina expressed a hope to hear one of their love songs. Yui said she wanted to hear hers as well. The randomizer started and displayed the first name of the day, Tokoyami. Tokoyami said that it was his turn to unveil a part of Midoriya's secrets. He searched the pile and found one that unsettled him. Tokoyami commented that this one looked rather grim. The title read, End of a Life. Uraraka asked if Izuku had really written a song about that subject. Momo said they would find out when they listened. We'd run right through those nights. I'll never find my way back to you, inside this labyrinth of lights. There was madness in the meaning, never laughless. We were screaming at the top of our lungs to the numbness. This city never died. Jiro noticed a woman's voice and asked who it was. Inko explained that the voice belonged to Izuku. She then told the group that Izuku had been affected by a gender-altering quirk 3 months after he met All Might and began training. She recalled being surprised when a young woman came to her house and called her mom. The effect wore off after a month, and Izuku had been embarrassed to attend school during that time, so they had created an excuse. Inko added that he had used the opportunity to record songs that required a female voice, and that the experience had given him a deeper understanding and respect for women. Bakugou asked if that was why he had not seen Izuku for the whole month, and Inko confirmed that it was. Momo observed that the voice explained much of the emotion in the song. I'll fly. No proof. Those heights. I'll never find another chance to say, hey, thanks for saving my life. I was hopeless. It was stinging. Running roadless. We were singing at the top of our lungs to the numbness. This city never died. What was the root of it all? I couldn't say. Used to jump and then fall. Rugged and cliched. But the song opened with images of a drifting, directionless dream and rain that would not stop. Midnight reflected that it felt like a window into who the singer had been before, raw emotions poured into a single song. The lyrics described running through endless nights and losing a way back inside a dazzling, confusing maze. Madness threaded through meaning, and they had howled into the numbness of the city that never truly died, questioning whether any soul remained within it. Reiko observed that only those with a soul could truly see the goodness in others, and that in the pursuit of greatness they had forgotten to be good. Tokoyami replied that this was the truth of their powered-up society. The song continued with images of chasing fireflies between towering high-rises, leaving a faint trail behind as if marking time that some called wasted. It painted a portrait of an overworked, underpaid singer who thought an office felt like a coffin, and of an optimist who still feared despite the odds. He found small hope in writing songs behind lonely shades and wondered whether the world would be sadder without the words he had shared. When opportunity collapsed and the music around them faded, he questioned whether it mattered that the sound diminished and friends grew tired of fantasy. He scolded himself for lingering in pity and reminded himself to be grateful for having chosen this life, urging recollection of the days he had once hoped and prayed for. Kendo found the song heavy. Momo explained that the singer was addressing the pressures people had put on him, how even All Might had once advised him to seek a realistic path, and how he had accepted the trade of becoming a hero and moved into that new life. The song returned to its opening haze, a restless dream without direction, leaving nothing behind. The singer pretended it was the end of a made-up story while promising to fly toward heights where he could never again find another chance to thank the person who had saved his life. He remembered feeling hopeless and stung, driving without a road, singing into the numbness as the city endured. He resolved to say goodbye to the soul inside that had worn thin. Despite everything, the song found a bittersweet tenderness in their shared self-doubt. They had little chance in the maze of light, but they resolved to hold hands through the haze of night and run as fast as they could until morning bells and trains signaled the time to wake. They acknowledged waking now to real life, allowing a last daydream before the next flight, and promising to keep waiting. Ragdoll called the song beautiful. Mandalay agreed that the singer knew how to convey his emotions through music. Tsuyu noted that this was the most they had learned of him personally, since he rarely shared his past. Shiro asked who would pick the next song. The randomizer immediately selected Uraraka. Uraraka reached into the basket and drew a song labeled, I Do. Mina excitedly guessed it might be a love song. Toru wondered who it might be for. Setsuna suggested the title could refer to marriage. Mina urged them to play it. Uraraka then performed a regretful song about having treated someone's feelings carelessly and now witnessing that person's happiness with someone else. She sang of feeling foolish and afraid as her world seemed to fall apart. Midnight explained that the song was about regretting having played with a man's feelings and now seeing another girl make him happy, and Ragdoll said she should not have done it in the first place. Uraraka pleaded that he should not fall in love with the other girl, believing that the other would never love him the way she did and insisting that no one could be with him as she could. She vowed to try to intervene rather than stand by, desperate because she felt she knew him best and could not let the relationship be what it might become. Mina reacted with excitement, and Momo characterized the song as one of regret. Bakugou interrupted sharply, demanding everyone hold on. Ida scolded him about his language and reminded him to think of the children nearby. Bakugou brushed her off and said not now, insisting he knew the song. He explained that Iken had told him he wrote it right after talking with Alice. Ashui wondered if that Alice was the one Bakugou meant. Bakugou confirmed that Alice was the girl who had dated Iken and hurt him. He recounted that she had contacted Iken and apologized, saying she had truly loved him but had been afraid to go against the majority and risk ridicule. She had also mentioned seeing him cleaning Takoba Beach, and then Bakugou paused. Kendo prompted him to continue. Momo asked why he was hesitating and encouraged him to tell them. Bakugou sighed and resumed, warning that what he was about to reveal would be surprising and that only Aunt Inko and All Might knew the whole story. He acknowledged that many of the girls present were in love with Iken and that Iken would treat them all equally if he could, but asked them to keep an open mind. Bakugou revealed that Iken was engaged. He explained that Alice had seen Iken kiss a girl who was now one of his fiancées. Alice had spoken to him to tell the truth and to ask him to take her back, but he refused. They had ended things properly then, and the song was his final connection to Alice. The girls from Class 1A and 1B and the female professionals reacted loudly, exclaiming that he was engaged. Bakugou confirmed, saying he believed Iken was engaged to 3 or 4 girls but could not remember exactly, and reassured them that they could join the relationship later if it developed. Auntie Inko was supportive and knew about all the engagements. Momo asked who Iken was engaged to. Bakugou named the first as Rias Gremory from the wealthy Gremory family and the second as Rias's friend Akino Himejima, explaining that the two were like sisters in everything but blood and that when Rias became engaged, Akino was included as well. Momo noted that the Gremoris were one of the richest families in Japan, comparable to her own. Kaminari wondered how Iken had managed to win someone like that. Bakugou relayed what Izuku had told him. Izuku saved Rias from an unwanted arranged marriage to a very unsettling man. Mineta protested loudly at the comparison. Shiro commented that Midoriya really was a ladies' man. Kodai asked about the remaining engagements. Auntie Inko refused to reveal the last two names, explaining that Toshi wanted to announce them himself later because of a bet he made with the teachers. Present Mike asked if that was why Iken had claimed to know more than they let on. Nizu said he still thought he would win the bet. The song began with a melancholic opening about being struck by someone who was trouble from the start, the singer confessing that their world was falling apart now that the other person had someone else's heart. The chorus warned against falling in love with that person, insisting the singer knew the beloved in a way no one else could and threatening to break things up to prevent it. Sato reflected that this gave him more respect for Midoriya, praising the way Midoriya conveyed emotions through his songs and the stories he built with them, even choosing symbolic gestures like making the right cake for the right person. Toru said she felt sad for Alice because of her choices, but was grateful they could still be with Izzy. The randomizer popped up and revealed Hawks. Hawks greeted everyone energetically and said it was his turn. He grabbed the first CD at hand and announced that it was titled Hope is the Thing with Feathers, which he found very fitting. Miruko teased him about his affinity for fried chicken. Hawks shrugged and said they would find out what the song held. The new song opened with a rallying, hopeful tone about rising together as destiny unfolded, facing darkness and trials yet untold, sharing silent hopes in the shadows of despair and chasing declared dreams. Kamakiri felt energized by the song and told Aways that he felt like he could fight a group of villains and come out victorious. Aways agreed that the music was motivating him to do his very best and to become the hero he aspired to be. The song's opening painted images of glimpses seen through their eyes, fools blind to sight, and a promise that they would find their way. It urged them to keep their heads up as wheels turned across plains and valleys toward dawn, an unending dream. The music spoke of tracks running where shadows hide, of running and striding toward hope. Kirishima and Tetsu stood and declared that it was a hype song. Present Mike observed that the young listener knew how to say the right things to motivate those around him and that he had a natural charisma. Nizu agreed that the boy was a strong influence on his peers. The song continued, emphasizing standing firm in the face of fear and striving for victory, weathering storms, and hoping in the light of truth to break free from chains and be renewed. Momo reflected that Midoriya was right. They had all come far, having faced villains at the USJ attack and during summer camp, and they had held their ground by working together. Todoroki smirked that the music brought back memories of the Stain incident. Ida immediately cautioned Todoroki that he should not have mentioned it. Aizawa told them both that they would explain the incident after the song. As the chorus swelled, the song's lyrics painted a steady rhythm and a destination that felt near, a march toward a kingdom and the light of day. Whispers and secrets turned into bound hope as they pursued their dreams beneath the starry night. Hidden voices layered into the track, proclaiming that those imprisoned in their dreams were awakening for freedom, urging listeners not to be shackled by the past, and insisting that even a painful future could not be avoided but would be faced. The voices spoke about the limits of human weakness and the will of the weak. Jiro wondered aloud who the voices were. Kirishima admitted that he did not know, but he had felt them, especially that last voice. Tetsu asked Midoriya if he could have a copy of the song for his training playlist. Kirishima enthusiastically agreed, and many others said they felt energized by the music as well. Aizawa returned attention to the earlier mention of Todoroki and Ida. Ida explained that during the internships he had chosen to intern at Manual, but in truth he had gone seeking revenge against Stain. Midoriya had found him, sent their location to the Class 1A group chat, and Todoroki had followed. The three of them had confronted Stain together and managed to stop him, but the official story was that Endeavor had taken credit for avoiding vigilante charges on their records. Endeavor confirmed the explanation. Mirko laughed and said she had known Midoriya had guts. Aizawa called them problem children and reminded them they had already been punished for their actions, warning them not to do anything like that again. Nizu suggested a short break before Aizawa quit his job. Aizawa admitted he was close to quitting, but Nizu said he still would not approve it. They all took a short break as Nizu chuckled. Once everyone returned from their break and Nizu quieted, the class took their places again to listen to Izuku's music. Nizu announced that since everyone had come back, they should continue and asked the randomizer to provide the next name. The randomizer activated and produced the name Kendo. Kendo said it was time to see what song they would listen to. She closed her eyes, selected a CD from the box, opened it, and read the title Jet-Lagged Feet Nijire. She dedicated the song to two friends in America, Wednesday Addams and Enid Sinclair, saying she missed them and affectionately calling them Storm Cloud and Sunshine. Achiko observed that this explained the other two people connected to him. Momo asked if this referred to the Addams family, which she noted was the third richest family in the world. Mina asked Momo to elaborate. Momo explained that the Addams family had long associations with the supernatural dating back to the days of the first pilgrims. She said they welcomed outsiders and had become one of the largest and most influential families, ranking above her own family by several places in net worth. Reiko asked if Momo meant supernatural powers, and Momo clarified that she meant witchcraft, rituals, and magic. They did not have quirks but possessed other supernatural abilities. Jiro quipped that she did not want to nitpick, but who names their child after the day they were born? Inko corrected her by saying that Wednesday had actually been born on Friday the 13th. Tokoyami offered an evocative remark about revelry in the dark. Azui asked why Wednesday had been given that name, addressing Inko as mom because Inko had said they could call her Inko or mom if they were close to her son. Mina teased that Azui was already using the honorific, and Inko laughed. Inko said she had met Wednesday and described her as somewhat gloomy, someone who looked at the world through a negative lens. She added that Wednesday's mother was a warm, eccentric woman who had told her that the girl's name came from a favorite poem, Wednesday's child is full of woe. Inko also described Enid as a loving person who nonetheless carried her own share of pain, troubles, and self-doubt similar to Izuku. Momo then asked how Izuku had met them. Inko explained that Toshi had taken Izuku to America on one of his short foreign study visits. Toshi was close to the principal of the school that Wednesday and Enid attended. Izuku had become close to both after helping them save the school from a resurrected pilgrim. The relationships that developed were shaped by the family's traditions and circumstances, and the families had to discuss and come to terms with the situation. Setsuna reacted that it was heavy stuff. Inko agreed that it had been a lot, and said Izuku had been overwhelmed at first but they had talked things through. The Addams family had been pleased, though Enid's family had needed a bit of convincing before they were fully comfortable. Nizu then inquired, addressing Inko respectfully, what part of the supernatural community these acquaintances of Mr. Midoriya belonged to. Inko answered that, according to Izuku, Wednesday had some kind of psychic or seer ability and Enid was a werewolf. She added that Reiko and Fumikage would likely enjoy talking with the Addams family. Reiko and Tokoyami brightened at that and planned to ask Izuku about it when he returned from his trip with All Might. With the explanation complete, Nizu said they should listen to the song. Izuku felt jet-lagged, humming about time differences and how much he missed someone who felt far away. He and Nijire sang together in their heads about waking to each other's sunsets, growing lonely while waiting for a call, and how the time zone made everything feel upside down. Izuku thought about saying good morning when it was midnight, about lying awake alone in bed, and how his heart was tired from missing the other person. Kendo asked their mother whether they talked often. Inko explained that they did not often. Izuku was usually busy with hero training and studying, and mostly got to speak with them once a week. Enid tended to be the one to call because Wednesday did not like using technology and still used a typewriter for papers. Aizawa noted that this was unusual. Inko recalled how family members had scolded Izuku when they learned about his dangerous encounters with villains, calling him a magnet for trouble. Rias and Akino did the same, though they could meet with him in person more easily. Izuku and Nijire continued to express the same longing. 5 more days until home, a picture kept in the car, the pain of imagining the other person alone. They tried to stay busy to keep from thinking about the distance, and both rued how waking to each other's opposite day felt maddening. The refrain of missing each other and feeling jet-lagged stayed with them. Komori observed that Izuku truly missed them a lot. Tsunotori suggested he should let them hear the song. Achiko said she wished they could meet the four of them. Midnight asked Inko whether Wednesday and Enid knew about Rias and Aquino. Inko confirmed that they did and did not mind. She explained that Wednesday had mentioned some members of the Addams family were polyamorous and that one uncle had even married a sea turtle. Ectoplasm asked whether that had meant an actual animal rather than someone with a sea creature quirk, and Inko confirmed it was the actual animal. The room fell quiet at that, everyone taking the remark in. On the other side of the world, Enid playfully wondered aloud what their mate was doing in that moment. Wednesday predicted that he was likely getting into some kind of trouble. Back on the boat, Izuku and All Might noticed a spotted seal had hopped aboard. Izuku pointed it out and then realized that several orcas were circling them. All Might moved to the helm and started the engine while Izuku hurried to reel in their rods and secure the cooler. Izuku shouted for All Might to floor it, and the boat roared to life, speeding away as the orcas gave chase, likely trying to reach the seal. At UA, Present Mike asked who would pick the next song. The randomizer produced a name, Ragdoll. Ragdoll expressed delight at getting a turn, took her time rummaging through the box, and selected a card. That read Worldwide, a message directed to Melissa about always being on her mind. The singer paused and asked for a minute, inquiring how the listener's day had been, because the singer had been missing them by their side. The singer apologized for possibly waking them from their dreams and admitted they could not sleep. The singer said the listener calmed them and that there was something about the sound of the listener's voice. The singer insisted they were never as far away as they might seem and promised they would be together soon, picking up right where they left off. The singer noted that Paris, London, and Tokyo were only part of the work they had to do and promised to tuck the listener in over the phone every night. The singer said they could hardly take another goodbye and that it would not be long, because the listener was the one they were waiting on. The singer repeated that they would be thinking about the listener worldwide. Momo thought this made sense since Island was always moving, so Melissa could be anywhere in the world right now. Achiko observed that Melissa kept in touch most with Mei because they worked together on Dekukuin's gear. The singer admitted they might have met a million pretty girls who knew their name but reassured the listener that the listener had their heart. The singer acknowledged that it was not easy to keep moving from city to city, but the show must go on, and they needed the listener to be strong. The singer again promised they were never as far away as they seemed and that they would be together soon, picking up where they left off. They repeated the travel list and the nightly promise to tuck the listener in over the phone, saying they could hardly bear another goodbye and that it would not be long because the listener was the one they were waiting on. The singer declared they would be thinking about the listener worldwide. Kaminari checked whether anyone was taking notes. Tsuburaba confirmed they were. Awaze confirmed as well. Kaminari said he was just checking. The singer said that wherever the wind blew them, the listener remained the one and only on their mind, that no one was better, and that the listener should always remember that they belonged to the singer. Mandalay commented that it was a nice song. Pixie Bob said she could not wait for her turn and hoped he would return soon so they could start a family. Mandalay called for Ryuko. Inko said she expected to have many grandchildren to spoil. The randomizer booted up again and revealed MT Lady. And Lady celebrated that it was her turn and hoped it would be her song. The randomizer's message named the song and indicated it was for the quiet, cute Yui, praising her soft hums and lovely voice. Setsuna remarked that it was Kodia's turn to blush. Kodai acknowledged this. Yui looked away to hide her blushing cheeks, appearing nonchalant while internally panicking over being called cute and having her voice admired. Kodai thought he had been called cute and that the attention was overwhelming. Steam puffed from the top of Yui's head and her face flushed bright red. The singer asked only to see the listener tomorrow and every tomorrow after that, wondering if the listener might let them borrow their heart. The singer wondered if it was too much to ask for every Sunday and suggested adding every other day as a start. The singer acknowledged that people made promises all the time and sometimes broke them, and that when someone hurt you deeply it could feel like bleeding. The singer offered to be the one to help heal that wound over time and vowed not to stop until the listener believed it, because the listener was worth it. The singer urged the listener not to treat falling in love with them as a bad thing, suggesting that falling in love could make dreams come true. The singer said it was not a bad thing to fall in love, and that giving time and effort might reveal that their love was freely given. The singer reassured that it was not a bad thing to fall in love with them. The singer repeated the chorus about traveling to Paris, London, and Tokyo as part of their work and again promised to tuck the listener in each night over the phone, saying goodbyes would not last long because the listener was the one they were waiting on. The singer reiterated they would be thinking about the listener worldwide. Yes, the singer admitted they might meet many people who knew their name, but they reminded the listener not to worry because the listener had their heart. Setsuna teased that Greenie's love was free and asked Yui if it was wrong to fall in love with him. Yui responded softly in agreement. Izuku then sang a tender song. He promised to be the last voice she heard each night and to greet each morning with her gaze, describing it as a good place to begin. He acknowledged that people often made promises and broke them, and that such betrayals left scars, but he offered to be the one to help heal those wounds over time and to keep trying until she believed him, because she was worth it. He urged her not to treat falling for him as a bad thing, suggesting she might be surprised and find her dreams come true with him. He reassured her he would not fill her mind with broken promises or wasted time and that if she fell, she would always land safely in his arms. Kendo later asked Yui how she liked the song. Yui fell silent. Setsuna called for her, and Yui fainted from blushing. She was gently caught by Ibra's vines in a swift, supportive motion. Setsuna noted that the romance had overwhelmed her. Komori observed that Yui had been overwhelmed by Izuku's profession of love and admitted she, too, would likely faint hearing hers. Niza decided they should let Yui rest and wait for her to wake before continuing. Everyone agreed and Recovery Girl went to check on Yui. After Yui regained her bearings, they continued. Her blush remained but had faded from when she had fainted. The randomizer revealed a new name, Ojiro. Ojiro said he would see what he could find, looked through the box, and selected one labeled for Eri and Koda. Eri asked if Papa had made a song for them, and Koda brightened at the idea. Mandalay chuckled and leaned toward Ragdoll, commenting that Izuku was going to be a great father to all their children. Ragdoll agreed. Izuku began to sing another gentle melody about 10 million fireflies lighting the world as he fell asleep. He described the soft glow filling the open air and leaving teardrop-like lights everywhere, admitting he might just stand and stare. He sang that he liked to believe the earth turned slowly and that he often preferred to stay awake in dreams, because things were never quite what they seemed. Mandalay said she should get that song from Izuku to use as a lullaby for Koda. Koda asked if they could live with their dad so he could sing it more, and Mandalay reminded him that they still had hero work and could not simply move to UA. Koda pouted. Nizu then announced that it was done. Others reacted with surprise. Nizu explained that, after many months and attempts, Izuku had helped him and a team create a warp portal inspired by the League's methods and past incidents, which would link their agency to UA and allow them to travel between facilities quickly. He added that he already had a large house constructed at UA. Tiger asked why Nizu had done this, and Aizawa remarked that Nizu clearly expected Izuku to win the bet. "'Cause I'd get 1,000 hugs from 10,000 lightning bugs. As they tried to teach me how to dance. A foxtrot above my head, a sock hop beneath my bed. A disco ball is just hanging by a thread. I'd like to make myself believe that planet Earth turns slowly. It's hard to say that I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep. 'Cause everything is never as it seems when I fall asleep. Leave my door open just a crack. Please take me away from here. 'Cause I feel like such an insomnia. Please take me away from here. Why do I tire of counting sheep? Please take me away from here. When I'm far too tired to fall asleep. To 10 million fireflies, I'm weird 'cause I hate goodbyes. I got misty eyes as they said farewell. But I'll know." The song opened with a warm refrain about sharing love with everyone, urging people to give love to brothers and sisters, to partners, to friends and even to foes, and reminding listeners that love comes back around. As the song ended, Kirishima and Tetsu embraced, both crying. Kirishima remarked that Midoriya truly was a man, always thinking about giving love to everyone. Tetsu agreed that he had a way with words. Momo commented that it was a beautiful song and that she wished he would release his music so more people could hear it. The randomizer displayed a number and it was obvious who would pick next, 13. 13 announced that it was her turn and quickly chose a space-themed song, clearly excited by the selection. Achiko asked if Deku had a space song, and Kendo observed that by now he seemed to have a song for every theme. The next song began with an energetic beat that encouraged everyone to find their pace and embrace who they wanted to be, reaching for unseen heights. The lyrics spoke of feeling an inner fire, of being the key to trust, and of joining a dream at the right time. It urged listeners to leave everything behind and get ready, inviting them into a world of renewed definition, to go beyond the horizon side by side. Setsuna cheered loudly, thrilled at Izumi's return. Komori said the song felt lively and fun. As the chorus swelled, some of the students joined in and sang along, their voices lifting the mood even higher. MT Lady remarked that it was such a wholesome song. Eri, now seated on Momo's lap, looked up at her and the other girls. Eri told them that her daddy was really good at singing and that she wanted to hear him all the time. Azui said they would ask her papa to sing for them when he returned. Eri giggled and smiled as the other girls cooed at how cute she looked. The randomizer then pulled up a live breaking news segment. The broadcast reported that All Might, the #1 hero and symbol of peace, was in a high-speed escape with Midoriya Izuku from UA's hero course. They were reportedly in a boat being chased by 7 orcas, and a spotted seal had apparently climbed into their boat while fleeing the predators. The Coast Guard had been alerted and asked for help to keep the seal safe and to avoid harm to any animals. The network promised further updates as information became available. The room went quiet until Inko's phone rang. She answered a video call that showed Rias and Aquino on one side and Enid and Wednesday on the other. Wednesday expressed concern that Izuku had gotten himself into trouble again. Inko replied that she did not know how or why he had gotten into trouble with All Might. He had said they were going fishing at sea, and now they had run into some kind of trouble. Aquino offered to come to Inko's location with Rias to look into the situation. Inko said she was currently at UA, listening to the music Izuku had made and hidden from them, and invited them to join. She would ask the principal to allow them through the gates. Nizu confirmed that the passes would be arranged. Wednesday and Enid said they would come as well. Enid mentioned that they had classes and that flights to Japan would take time. Wednesday, addressing Enid as my dear, declared she was willing to do whatever it took to see Izuku and that their institution would not stop them. Ragdoll reacted in surprise, asking if she had really said that. Mina joked that they would be seeing Midoriya's fiancés. Both of Midoriya's fiancés were visible behind Inko, and Wednesday acknowledged them as the many admirers of their beloved. Enid commented that they were all very pretty. Midnight smiled mischievously and said she was looking forward to meeting them when they arrived. Enid squeaked in response and Wednesday told her to stop panicking. She would get her chance when they came. Ria said she believed they would all be great friends. Aquino said she could not wait to be reunited with Izuku and Midnight when he returned. Inko reminded everyone to behave, and Rias, Aquino, and Midnight acknowledged her. Inko asked them to call when they were about to arrive so they could meet at the gate and distribute the passes. Rias and Aquino agreed, and Wednesday and Enid affirmed they would notify Inko. The call ended and the girls exchanged looks. Momo guessed they would soon be meeting the other girls. Toru expressed excitement. Setsuna and Pixie Bob chatted about meeting Rias and Aquino, and Mandalay told them both to calm down. Nizu observed that things were getting interesting. They all headed to the cafeteria. Nizu cackled again, this time wrapped in Aizawa's capture scarf, while the tired teacher sighed in quiet defeat. As everyone ate lunch in UA's cafeteria, Inko's phone rang and she stepped away to answer it. She told the caller that she would be there in a minute and would see them all soon. Momo asked who had called, and Inko replied that the girls had arrived. Aquino and Rias, along with Wednesday and Enid. Present Mike wondered aloud how the American visitors had managed to get there so quickly, and Inko said she had never bothered to ask after her previous experience with their family. Inko left the cafeteria briefly and returned with 4 women in tow. The first pair had black hair in a ponytail and red hair that flowed behind her. The students watched them curiously. The second pair were opposites in appearance. One wore her black hair in pigtails and dressed in all black with a grim expression, while the other favored bright colors, wearing denim and a rainbow sweater, her blonde hair streaked with pink and blue and her smile warm like Izuku's. Inko introduced them, explaining that Rias and Akino stood to her left and Wednesday and Enid to her right. The four of them bowed in greeting. Rias presented herself as Rias Gremory, one of Izuku's fiancés, and explained that her quirk, destruction, allowed her to release energies capable of disintegrating matter. She also noted she had inherited devil wings from her father's bloodline. Akino introduced herself as Akino Himejima, another of Izuku's fiancés, and described her elemental quirk, which let her wield lightning, ice, and fire, and mentioned a mutation that had given her dark wings. Enid cheerfully identified herself as Enid Sinclair and described being a blood moon werewolf, a rare type whose members first shift under a red moon and afterward can shift at will, typically growing larger than other werewolves. Wednesday introduced herself as Wednesday Adams, a seer whose visions came unpredictably whenever she touched something, showing either past or future events. Nizu called for the students and visitors to introduce themselves in turn. Class 1A and 1B, the staff, and the pro-heroes present each gave brief introductions. Inko then introduced Eri and Koda and referred to them as Izuku's unofficial children. Nizu guided the group to the multimedia room, where 4 extra chairs had been added to the unofficial Izuku Harem group. Akino, Rias, Enid, and Wednesday took their seats as the randomizer booted up and displayed a name, Enid. Enid excitedly moved to the box to draw a slip and read the message addressed to the mischief duo Mina and Setsuna, praising them as perfect in their own ways. Enid commented that Izuku was very sweet to have written that, and Wednesday noted, with a dry remark, that Enid said such things about him often. Enid insisted she only spoke the truth. Mina and Setsuna exchanged a glance, their hearts racing at the thought of what Midoriya might have planned for them. A brief pause followed the announcement. Azui observed that Izuku had never been one to make promises lightly, and Momo agreed, recalling his earlier promise not to overtrain himself. Jiro added that he had made that promise many times, 100 times. They joked only for them to find him still training while they were eating dinner. Midoriya's song filled the room, its chorus about secret rendezvous, midnight drives, and living in the moment repeating like a warm, mischievous promise. The verses hinted at curiosity and imperfect promises, urging a start right now. Setsuna declared that Greenie could hold her anytime, and then some. Kendo told Setsuna to stand down, saying this was not the right place for that. Ria suggested a playful, harmless plan to make Izuku show affection, mentioning that she and Akino had done similar stunts before. Akino added a brief, light-hearted comment about their late-night habits. Momo reacted with surprise. Midnight responded with amused approval. Wednesday guessed that Izuku had offered help when he found them in an awkward situation, and Ria said he had been very kind and had rescued her from an unpleasant engagement. The song continued, its chorus returning to the theme of being the perfect match for someone who liked adventure and spontaneity. Mina insisted emphatically that there would be no breaking up in this relationship, and MT Lady agreed enthusiastically. Everyone listened as the chorus repeated once more, emphasizing midnight drives and dreaming without limits. Mina squealed in delight, calling it their love song from Midori. Setsuna observed that those songs could make anyone swoon. Enid remarked that Izuku had an accidental charm when he spent a short time at Nevermore, Wednesday, and she had to keep an eye on him because much of the student body admired him, especially the werewolves and sirens. Achiko asked why werewolves and sirens were particularly interested. Wednesday explained that werewolves tended to seek mates who were strong and capable, and that Izuku had demonstrated formidable control over his quirk in battle. She said she enjoyed seeing him fierce and victorious in action, picturing him standing triumphant over defeated opponents in a dramatic anime-style clash. The room fell quiet at her intensity. Enid teased Wednesday for her bluntness, and Inko reassured everyone that this was just how Wednesday was. Sato commented that constant attention sounded overwhelming and wondered how anyone would get to class under such circumstances. Tamaki admitted that being crowded by admirers sounded scary. The randomizer selected a name again, and Aizawa asked if they could change it. The randomizer refused, and Aizawa shot it a glare. Midnight stepped forward, picked a card from the box, and read a cute message that praised Sue's bluntness and small endearing habits. The way she smiled, the way she tilted her head, and how she arranged her hair. Azui responded with a cheerful ribbit. A familiar love song filled the room, its words praising someone's eyes and hair and insisting that, to the singer, she was perfect just as she was. The melody spoke of a smile that could stop the world for a moment and of a constant, gentle admiration. Azui croaked softly. Mina remarked that Azui looked adorable and noted that Midori clearly cared for her a great deal. He often told her how wonderful she was, though she rarely believed the compliments. When she asked if she looked okay, he always reassured her that she was fine. Enid said that it was obvious why he admired her and that anyone would be fortunate to be close to her. Wednesday teased Enid, saying her enthusiasm was obvious, and Enid only laughed at the teasing. The song continued, describing a love that did not require change and that found beauty in a laugh the other thought unappealing. To the singer, every ordinary detail was special. Most of the girls looked at Azui. Her expression remained blunt, but the sudden, rosy color in her cheeks betrayed a different feeling. Azui croaked again, and Midnight found it irresistibly cute. The randomizer popped up an image of a car. Kaminari guessed it was a car, and Bakugou snapped that it must be referring to the bespectacled one. Ida walked over to the baskets, carefully picked a case, and read the title, Scene 1, James Dean and Audrey Hepburn. When no other information was visible, Ida opened the case and found a note inside addressed to Rumi. The note said that every moment with Rumi felt like a movie and that the music would be their soundtrack. Ryukyu nudged Rumi forward, and Rumi blushed and looked away. The next song spoke of longing and the desire to stay close to someone after being apart for a long time. It described the singer's amazement that this person had chosen them and how being together had changed everything. The lyrics hinted at a fierce, protective emotion and a love that began in a single defining moment they shared. Midnight, curious, asked Rumi if she and Izuku had ever shared that defining moment. Rumi admitted that they had, and Midnight teased whether Rumi had chosen him because of his intensity. Rumi flushed and admitted that Izuku had later been there for her during a difficult personal time. He had been tender, helped with household tasks, and cared for her in a way that felt domestic and right. Pixie Bob commented that such care scored high on the partner material list. The song went on to promise a kind of forever, to ask someone to stay as long as needed, and to vow steadfastness even when things were difficult. The sentiment wrapped around the group, softening the room into a quiet, hopeful pause. Enid squealed with delight and said it was adorable, noting that he had such a way with words. Wednesday responded that their beloved could even sway the most stubborn beings with the purity of his heart. 13 observed that, at this point, he might even convince a female villain to abandon her schemes if he played his cards right. Ryukyu heard some mumbling beside her and asked Rumi if she had been saying something. Rumi denied it, but Ragdoll encouraged her to share. Midnight added that no one would judge her. Rumi finally admitted that she wanted him to play that music the next time they shared a quiet romantic moment. MP Lady found it romantic, and Mandalay commented that she had not expected Rumi to be the romantic type. Rumi blushed and crossed her arms as she looked away. Before the randomizer began, Inko's phone rang. She saw it was Izuku and answered. Inko asked how Izuku and All Might were, mentioning that everyone had seen the news. Izuku replied that he and All Might were fine and asked if Akino and Rias were with Inko, and whether Enid and Wednesday were there. Inko confirmed that they had all come to UA to check on him. Akino expressed how much she had missed him. Rias said the bed felt colder without him. Enid introduced herself playfully as his werewolf girlfriend reporting for duty, and Wednesday greeted him solemnly. Izuku said it was good to see everyone and that he and All Might would be heading home the next day, earlier than expected. Inko teased that an orca chase did not seem too problematic for them. Izuku hesitated and then admitted that he might have slapped someone with a fish because of a limited edition 13 figurine. The group went silent. Wednesday asked him to explain further. Izuku sighed and described how he and All Might had carried a cooler off the boat and come across a hero store selling a limited edition 13 figurine. He had reached for the box at the same time as another man, and their argument had escalated. Using a distraction, he took one of the fish from the cooler and struck the man with it, then ran to the counter, paid with his card, and fled with all might. He added that he had been banned from that area but had gotten the figurine, which he intended to give to Ochako. Ochako stammered in surprise that the gift was for her. Izuku noted her presence and said it was good to see her. Ochako explained that everyone from Class A and B, the teachers, Eri and Koda, and a few pros were there. Inko turned the phone to show the group around her, which made Izuku embarrassed. He apologized briefly, said he loved his mom and his fiancés, and ended the call. After the call dropped, there was a short silence before Mina teased that Midori had gotten in trouble to secure the figurine for Ochako. Enid excitedly told Ochako that her natural blush made her even cuter. Wednesday cautioned Enid to be calmer so she would not overwhelm her. Enid insisted she could not help it and claimed she could hear Wednesday's heartbeat. Ochako admitted that Wednesday's goth appearance was attractive, and seeing Wednesday blush and look away made her own heart beat faster. The randomizer pinged and displayed the next person to choose a song with an image of a sleeping bag. Aizawa announced that it was his turn and stood to select. He chose a song by the Strays and remarked that it was a message for those labeled as weak or villainous not to believe such judgments, urging them to trust themselves and that they could go far. Hubcaps and ashtrays. I was born, but I wasn't raised. The big wheel, the black space. Tried my best, but wasn't praised. Hell is so close to heaven. Hell is so close to heaven. Ibra stammered in surprise. Todoroki observed that, given the daily injustice quirkless people face and the statistic that many quirkless do not live past their 20s, the description was painfully accurate. Hold on, don't look back. You know we're better than that. Lost and thrown away. You know we're better than that. We are the strays, we are the strays. Train tracks to the stage. Play that role, the one you made. Long nights and the worst days. Lived it all, but I didn't break. Tiger acknowledged the boy's resilience after enduring years of childhood hardship, saying he had the strength of a fighter. Mirko admired his drive and said that determination made him truly inspiring. Ryukyu teased Mirko to calm down. Hell is so close to heaven. Hell is so close to heaven. Hold on, don't look back. You know we're better than that. Lost and thrown away. You know we're better than that. We are the strays, we are the strays. My whole life, they said I'd be nothing. Well, I'm something. And I would rather be the stray than be nothing to no one at all. Setsuna reacted to the verse with awe. Momo expressed that Izuku was very important to her, more than just the hubcaps and ashtrays. I was born, but wasn't raised. Hold on, don't look back. You know we're better than that. Lost and thrown away. You know we're better than that. We are the strays, we are the strays. Kirishima and Tetsu praised Midoriya's courage, both moved to the point of wiping away tears of admiration. Ectoplasm reflected that the boy had endured so much and yet continued to pursue becoming a hero and inspiring others. The randomizer pinged and displayed 2 words, loud mouth. Present Mike loudly reacted that the label was rude. Aizawa wondered whether it was truly wrong. Present Mike then wandered to a box and found a CD case featuring Midoriya making a shocked expression with the word unbelievable across it. He held it up for everyone to see, and most of the students chuckled at the amused snapshot of Midoriya. It's unbelievable. This is as good as it gets. It's unbelievable. Don't know what's gonna happen next. It's unbelievable. You haven't seen nothing yet. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. When he was a kid, he saved up all his money so he could buy a toy android from an old movie. He put mint candies in a soda on the bus, played with classic canned pasta and action figures, and if a group declared no girls allowed, then boys could join the club. Saturdays were spent blowing on older video game cartridges and feeling the excitement of the latest movies and shows. Kaminari asked what C-3PO was. Power Loader explained that C-3PO was an android character from the pre-Quark era film Star Wars. Sada wondered whether putting mint candies in soda made it taste better. Momo explained that it was more of a chemical reaction that caused the soda to spout like a whale. Shota admitted he did not understand the references in the verse. Midnight pointed out that those references were all from the pre-quirk era. Inko explained that because Izuku only had one childhood friend, he spent a lot of time researching and appreciating pre-quirk culture, from films to food to short video clips called Vines. Enid nostalgically noted that Vine was gone but remembered fondly. She added that modern platforms filled a similar role but had a different style. Kendo summed up that the song seemed to be Izuku's appreciation for the pre-quirk era. Jiro agreed, judging by the theme he was aiming for. It's unbelievable. This is as good as it gets. It's unbelievable. Don't know what's gonna happen next. It's unbelievable. You haven't seen nothing yet. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. As a child, Midoriya dreamed of Power Wheels and stayed up late watching action films. He and his friends felt unstoppable. He lived for climbing trees and eating Dr. Pepper jelly beans. His favorite part of Jurassic Park had always been how real the raptors looked. He still had VHS tapes, watching The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and enjoying the antics of Zach Morris and Jazzy Jeff. Those days felt unbelievable to him, full of small wonders and the thrill of not knowing what would come next. Setsuna smiled and thought Greenie was genuine. She was already looking forward to watching dinosaur movies with him when he returned. Momo agreed, reflecting that Midoriya was right to appreciate a time when technology and storytelling were advancing rapidly and creators achieved impressive things without relying on quirks. Midoriya's memories were a collage of childhood treasures: Gak, Pogs, Floam, Home Alone, The Berenstain Bears, Beanbag Chairs, Goosebumps books, Etch-a-Sketches, Grape Juice boxes, Dr. Seuss books, piggyback rides, slip and slides, and fries from McDonald's. He remembered thinking those were the best times and feeling amazed when he looked back on them. The room fell quiet as everyone absorbed the nostalgia. MT Lady commented that it had been a pleasant trip down memory lane. Nizu observed that Mr. Midoriya had always been interesting and that dedicating a song to the pre-quirk era was a thoughtful gesture. Ida asked if there was any way to find those pre-quirk items. He admitted curiosity. Wednesday offered that her family could help, since the Addams family had connections everywhere and could likely locate such things. Ida thanked her politely. Enid teased that Midoriya really was a serious, awkward type, using playful banter. Momo noted that he had mellowed somewhat, crediting Izuku for that change. The randomizer pinged again, indicating the next person to present a song with an octopus emoji. Shoji rose and selected a track called The Reckless and the Brave. Mirko thought the song suited her personality. Izuku dedicated the song to that wild night in Hosu, and he laughed at the memory. Todoroki and Ida laughed too, remembering how carefree they had been. Aizawa sighed and muttered that Izuku was a problem child. Shoji's choice prompted a chorus of recollections about growing up in a place like suburbia, where everyone struggled to fit in and people often felt trapped by others' expectations. The lyrics, remembered in their hearts, spoke of not quite fitting in, of wanting something more, and of leaving that small world behind to chase a dream of taking a chance, saying goodbye, and holding on to dignity and a spark of hope. Ojiro reflected that they truly had been reckless and brave that night. Mirko admitted that she had been impressed by how striking the young green hero had been. Ryukyu asked Mirko to tone things down because his mother was nearby. Mirko shrugged and said she had simply been impressed by how different and compelling he was that night. Ryukyu rolled his eyes and called her insufferable, and Lady said she also found him admirable. Midnight, Ragdoll, Pixie Bob, and Mandalay each expressed their own admiration in turn, acknowledging his heroic nature. Ryukyu noted, half amused, that the group outnumbered his reservations. Pixie Bob teased that Ryukyu was just embarrassed to admit his feelings, and Ryukyu responded with a reluctant huff. The rest of the girls followed Izuku's fiancés to a quiet corner of the media room. Some were nervous, others curious or relaxed. The four fiancés stopped and faced them. Wednesday opened the meeting by noting that the four of them already knew all of the outsiders had feelings for their beloved. Aquino observed that Mirko and Midnight had not been trying very hard to hide their interest, and she giggled at that. Mirko made it clear that she did not joke about what she wanted, and Midnight agreed. Wednesday expressed appreciation for everyone's honesty and clarified that they did not mind if others wanted relationships with Izuku. She explained that the Addams family had relatives who were polyamorous, and that had made their family larger than most. Enid said that they all knew Izuku was caring and selfless, and that each of the women present had an encounter that had made them fall for him. Rias asked the others to explain what had made them fall for Izuku and what their intentions were going forward. She added that the four fiancés had bonded, that Wednesday and Enid considered them close, and that their protective feelings now extended to Akino and Rias as well. Akino invited everyone to share what Izuku had done to make them love him. Achiko explained that Deku had always been her best friend, that he had supported her without judgment when she wanted to go pro, and that he saw the best in people while encouraging them to strive for their ideals. She described him as a bright, guiding presence and said she had fallen in love with both his heroic deeds and the person he was. She wanted to stand beside him as a partner and a fellow hero. Toru said that Izzy always seemed to see her, knowing when she was in the room and sensing her feelings even without typical cues. He made her feel seen and special by the effort he put in, and she wanted him to know how important he was to her. Jiro said that Izuku treated people as people, not as mere measures of quirk strength. He regarded quirks as tools that could be used for good, and Jiro felt he saw her beyond her insecurities about her appearance. Even if Izuku did not mean to flatter her, the way he looked at her had made her feel attractive. She wanted him to stop doubting himself, because she found him attractive as well. Mina described Izuku as a joy to be around, playful to tease, sweet when flustered, and comfortable with physical closeness. She admitted she sometimes worried about accidentally hurting him with her acid, but he always reassured her with trust. Seeing how often he hurt himself while using his quirk worried her, and she wanted to be someone he could rely on who trusted him to take care of himself. Azui called Izuku heroic, recalling how he had saved her at the USJ during the flood and in the encounter with Shigaraki. She listed other dangerous battles he had faced and said his heroic heart often put him in harm's way. She loved him but feared losing him before they were even finished training, and she wanted to grow stronger so she could be there to defend and support him when he was vulnerable. Momo said Izuku had been instrumental in helping her refine her quirk and in teaching her better ways to use it for her creations. She admitted she had once doubted his method of using his quirk, but she had seen him push himself to the point of injury to help others, forcing Todoroki to use his flames, and then comforting her after a loss, teaching resilience and perspective. His planning during the rescue of Bakugou had impressed her. Izuku inspired hope in others, and Momo wanted to be a resting place for him, someone who could care for him when he needed to relax. One by one, girls from Class 1B, the WWP, Midnight, Mirko, Ryukyu, Nijire, and Mount Lady spoke about the reasons they loved Izuku. The fiancés listened with unreadable expressions until Wednesday sighed and acknowledged that they had all fallen for him in much the same way the fiancés had. Enid found the confessions touching and reacted emotionally. Wednesday gently reminded Enid to compose herself, prompting an apology and an admission that the stories were very moving. Rias reached out to pat Enid's head in comfort, and Enid smiled as she rested her head on Rias's shoulder. Akino went to Wednesday and hugged her from behind, wrapping her arms around her waist. Wednesday stiffened. Akino urged her to speak, saying everyone was waiting. Wednesday, addressing Akino as my love, asked her not to do this in front of everyone because they had not finished their discussion. Akino said she would finish it for her. She told the others that the four of them were willing to accept the newcomer into their relationship provided she truly cared for Izuku and for them as his partners, and that they hoped to get to know her personally. The other girls agreed and were pleased at the chance to grow closer to Izuku. Once the conversation ended, they returned to their seats as the others came back from their breaks. The randomizer started again and selected Pixie Bob. Pixie Bob announced it was her turn to pick a song, rummaged through the box, and pulled out a CD. She found a CD titled Give Me a Kiss and thought it sounded romantic. She dedicated the song to Pony Tsunatori, noting Pony's time in America and the different customs there. Midnight remarked on the boldness of the moment. Pony blushed at how direct Midoriya's invitation had been. So long live the reckless and the brave. He did not think he wanted to be saved. His song had not been sung. And long live the fast times, so come what may. He did not think he would ever be saved. Their song had not been sung. Long live them. Long live them. So long live the reckless and the brave. He did not think he wanted to be saved. His song had not been sung. So long live the reckless and the brave. He did not think he wanted to be saved. His song had not been sung. And long live the fast times, so come what may. Breaking out of a town called Suburbia. He did not think he would ever be saved. He knew their song had not been sung. Breaking out of a town called Suburbia. Long live them. Long live them. Nizu observed that this was one way to immortalize their accomplishments and suggested they take a break to listen to a few more songs before calling it a day. Kaminari excused himself to use the bathroom. As Kaminari left, the four fiancés exchanged looks and nodded before making their way to the other women. Rias greeted everyone warmly. Wednesday announced that it was time for all of them to talk, and that the conversation would involve their beloved Izuku. All the girls from Class A and B, along with the other female professionals, glanced at one another. It was time to settle the matter. Sometimes she wished she could just quit, but then other times there was nobody better than this. Even though he never listened and always thought he was right, she realized she would never have fit his type. Except for that first night, they had been two kids under the moonlight. They had eaten McDonald's at midnight and become the best of friends. She remembered their first time in Barcelona, the morning after when she had been so hungover. She had never thought all roads would lead to this. She wanted a tender moment. Setsuna said she wanted a late-night McDonald's date as well. Enid agreed enthusiastically, declaring that nothing beat a fries and McFlurry combo at night. Momo suggested they could arrange something like that when he returned tomorrow. Sometimes he said she was just too much, but then other times it felt like she gave him the world and would not give up. She never listened and took too long, and she realized she would never have fit his song. Except for that first night, they had been two kids under the moonlight. They had eaten McDonald's at midnight and become the best of friends. She remembered their first time in Barcelona, the morning after when she had been so hungover. She had never thought all roads would lead to this. She wanted a tender moment. Mina exclaimed that it was such a fun song and suggested they could play it in the McDonald's parking lot and have a dance party. Kinoko began to object, but Pixie Bob told everyone to wait and let Momo speak. Wednesday expressed disdain for public displays of affection, which prompted several people to look at her. Enid teased Wednesday about smiling despite her words, and Wednesday looked away with a small blush. Enid concluded that Wednesday liked the idea a great deal. Toru squealed with excitement. Pony joked that they would order the whole menu if they went. Wednesday, Momo, and Rias offered to pay for it, sharing a laugh. Wednesday added that she could provide for them and their family, addressing them affectionately. Kendo asked if they would even let others spend money for them. Momo, Rias, and Wednesday said they probably would not. The randomizer released another ping and displayed an image. Kaminari did not recognize it at first. Kinoko identified it as some sort of machine. Pony recognized it as a 3D printer and pointed out that Momo was next to choose. Momo rose from her seat, searched carefully through the box, and selected a card. She read the title, Lose Days. Nothing else was written on the card. Reiko wondered what the title could mean, whether it hinted at negativity or something else. Ragdoll suggested they were about to find out. A dedication followed. To the people who believed in her and the friends she had made along the way, this song was for all of them. Smiling through the lose days of confusion, they picked her right off the ground. Then dusted her off as they danced on with practiced calm. She realized the answer she had already found. Ojiro observed that it sounded like an upbeat song. Pixie Bob agreed that they were in for a treat. The song began, its narrator describing never-ending days wearing on, aimless yet focused, feeling like the most foolish of fools, composing ghost hits. Fist struck the desk and then reached for the sky, aware of dangerous heights and falls. Back then, the narrator trusted nobody and was all bark with no bite, fighting against fate. When night fell, the hours grew long, until unexpectedly 5 strong figures stood at the narrator's side. In those days they saw nothing wrong. The lyrics went on about lost dreams gathered in search of meaning turning into the blind leading the blind. There were hurts and bandaged bruises, and the singer wondered who cared if anyone was right. Smiles appeared through confusing, losing days. The narrator felt on the verge of diving in alone, thinking they had grown up, yet met with rolling eyes and a decision to stay. Trusting and choosing allies had never been their style until someone picked them up off the ground, dusted them off, and they danced on with casual ease. The narrator began to realize the answer they had found. With that person, they might just stick around. The singer described another fight with himself, lashing out as before, struggling with pride and the public image of sinlessness. Life felt broken into pieces like a puzzle on a dusty floor. Just when they thought they could not get by, a knock came at the door. Friends talked them down slowly, saying it wasn't all bad, offering a hand and a place to go. They laughed and chatted until the little cloud of the day lifted. The narrator admitted to continuing dissatisfaction and swallowing helpless, selfish pride, but declared they would not back down because this was their town. Smiles reappeared through disillusionment, with thoughts of missing home and decisions to stay. Again, trusting others had not been their habit until someone picked them up and dusted them off, and they danced through the rowdy, crowded downtown. Permanent markers ran and white-colored pencils left no impressions, yet they painted landscapes on a canvas in their own shades of truth, proving time and again that they could smile through confusing, losing days. Realization settled in and the narrator resolved to smile and make their friends proud. As always, Kirishima and Tetsu were already shedding what they called manly tears for their Midobro. Kirishima swore that Midoriya was such a great guy and said he wanted to make him proud too. Tetsu agreed that he wanted to do well so Midoriya could smile with them. Kaminari reassured everyone that Midoriya now had them and would not have to face anything alone anymore. Shiro teased that Kaminari seemed different and wondered what had happened to him. Wednesday observed that even a broken clock is right twice a day. Kaminari responded that he was not that foolish when using his quirk, only foolish in a different way. Everyone in the room gave him a puzzled look. The randomizer, sensing the ridiculous atmosphere, added another person to the selection, Ectoplasm. He rose, examined the CDs carefully, and chose the one with a cover depicting the night sky. Ectoplasm explained that the CD was Everything Goes On, a song for Sir Night Eye, a great hero and friend. Mirio reflected that he knew Midoriya had felt guilt over Sir Night Eye's death, and he suspected this song might be Midoriya's way of finally moving on from that guilt. The song's lyrics asked the listener not to force memories, to refrain from searching, and to accept that the singer was only a story that had been told. It suggested pretending a little longer, because when they were gone, everything would go on. The singer described someone staring out a window and being told they would be taken to the sea. They promised that when they were better, they would do everything, but also acknowledged the need to stop making promises they could not keep. The lyrics wondered whether, if the singer were gone tomorrow, the waves would still crash and whether it was selfish for them to feel happy as they passed the setting sun. They acknowledged that someday clouds would come, but insisted that loved ones would not have to cry because grieving could be done together while they were still by their side. Momo reflected that this was one way to look at death. Nizu agreed, noting that if everyone tells their own story, those stories must end at some point in time. Wednesday explained that spirits do not usually leave immediately once they die. Sometimes they watch over the living. Hananuki replied that the thought was comforting. A soft song began to play, its lyrics urging a gentle pretense of presence and promising that, when they were gone, everything would go on. The melody carried notes of fear at growing accustomed to loss and of vows to bring comfort until departure. Quiet sobs filled the room, especially from those who had been in the raid: Kirishima, Achiko, Tsuyu, Ryukyu, Mirio, and Eri. Their friends offered comfort, and Eri was gently held by her grandmother, Inko. Setsuna commented that Greenie's writing really hit hard, and Mina agreed, noting how full of emotion the songs were. Rias observed that a particular line about being told to be forgotten yet choosing to stay by someone's side felt both romantic and sad. The crying subsided after a few minutes and everyone began to calm. Nizu suggested they pause for now, have dinner in the school lunch hall, and prepare for the evening. He added that many people would be excited to see Mr. Midoriya again. Several girls from classes A and B blushed, and Izuku's companions and the visiting pro heroes giggled to themselves. Wednesday wore a small, knowing smile. Morning came. The entirety of Class A, along with Izuku's companions, was having breakfast when Izuku announced his return from his trip. Koda and Eri immediately ran to him, and Izuku bent down to hug them. His companions greeted him warmly, and the Class 1A students expressed their excitement in their own ways. Wednesday chided him not to look so surprised, and Enid teased that she had predicted his sudden charm. Rias and Aquino laughed along. Izuku checked with the group to make sure they were all comfortable. Wednesday gently reassured him with a supportive smile, saying that he deserved the care and affection he received. Izuku returned the gesture with a brief, affectionate touch on her forehead. The Class 1A girls reacted differently to his arrival. Tsuyu maintained a composed expression though she was flushed, Kyoka blushed and called him a dummy, Mina looked dazed and incredulous, Toru waved her hands to cool herself, Achiko floated again in surprise, and Momo cupped her face in delight. Izuku and his companions helped everyone get settled and prepare for the music sessions. They explained how they had found the CDs and had expected him to be upset. Izuku only sounded mildly annoyed and joked that he would have to pay Shinso for a lost bet. The girls giggled at his reaction. After breakfast, they moved to the multimedia room where everyone else was waiting. The Class 1B students greeted him warmly, and the visiting female pro heroes Midnight, Mirko, Ryukyu, Imhi Lady, Ragdoll, Pixie Bob, and Mandalay surrounded him with enthusiastic welcomes. Izuku accepted their friendliness and reciprocated with gratitude. Nizu then spoke, noting that since Mr. Midoriya had joined them, he should be the one to pick the songs for the session. Everyone agreed. Izuku approached his boxes, selected a CD, and explained that it was a compilation of songs he had made for fun: White Knight, Fiddlesticks, and Say My Name. Izuku's song invited listeners to lose themselves in the moment, to forget past and future and let the groove take over. Its chorus urged being carried away, not wanting to be alone, and moving toward the other side. The tune mixed a playful surrender to the beat with hints of something darker underneath, calling for company and escape in equal measure. Pony asked if Izuku had really written a song specifically meant for dancing. Izuku confirmed that he had and explained that he thought it would be fun at a party. When the chorus began, Izuku stood and took Mina's hand with a smile. Mina caught the signal and they moved together, dancing in sync while the others joined in the music. As the song reached its climax, Izuku spun Mina with a practiced flourish. She wrapped her arms around his neck and they shared a warm, affectionate embrace. They separated smiling and returned to their seats among the girls. Setsuna exclaimed excitedly that Izuku would have to dance with them like that. Izuku replied that he would dance with each of them in turn, sometimes planned and sometimes random, and gave Setsuna a playful wink. The girls swooned at the idea, imagining dancing with him and exchanging loving glances. Wednesday mused that the idea made her think of dancing over the graves of her ancestors in the family graveyard. Most of the group looked surprised, while Rias, Aquino, Enid, Inko, and Izuku appeared unfazed. Wednesday added that the ghosts of her ancestors enjoyed it when people danced over their graves. Izuku said he knew how elegant she looked when she danced and that he enjoyed dancing with her. Wednesday blushed and crossed her arms. Izuku turned his attention to the children and offered them headphones in case the music was too intense. Eri asked to listen to the Fireflies song again, and Koda agreed. Izuku arranged for that song to play for them. Eri sat on Momo's lap and Koda sat with Mandalay, both wearing noise-canceling headphones playing the song they requested. Sato expressed curiosity about the song Izuku had made that he had been hesitant for others to hear. Izuku suggested that Wednesday, Reiko, Tokoyami, and Kuwaro would appreciate the next piece. The four listened with interest as the music began. The new song painted a haunting scene, fields held in silence and wind stilled, a warning to seek safety as twilight deepened and crows claimed the sky. Trees bowed as if in sorrow and a distant melody tempted those who might not notice the danger until it was too late. The arrangement relied on eerie tones and atmospheric effects rather than XPLCT menace, creating a chilling mood without graphic detail. When that track ended, there was a heavy silence. The children, however, were still content with their own music. Kaminari reacted with wide-eyed disbelief and asked why Izuku had composed something so unsettling. Enid agreed, calling it creepy. Present Mike compared its mood to a strangely unsettling smile. Aizawa joked that he might play that song for them while they slept. Wednesday said the melody was music to her ears. Reiko encouraged Izuku to make more music, noting that the sound effects had given the piece a unique edge. Tokoyami and Kurwaro murmured that they enjoyed the dark revelry. Izuku reassured everyone that the next song would be lighter and explained that it was a track he had written during a time when he had imagined being turned into a girl again. Pixie Bob cheered at the idea that Izumi was back. The next song shifted tone, opening with a weary, almost melodramatic confession of boredom and a feeling that time stretched endlessly. It spoke of long, painful exchanges and the sting of unfinished conversations, using sharp metaphors to convey emotional strain rather than anything graphic. The music moved listeners from the eerie to something more reflective, keeping the evening's atmosphere varied and engaging. But then he saw it in her eyes and it took him by surprise. 10,000 volts, a bolt that brought his heart to life. He wanted her there right then because he felt ready to let go. He wanted someone to get him through the night and show him all they knew. His lips were a mystery, one kiss and anyone would agree. If someone was ready to get familiarized, he wanted them to say it right. He had written the name Nerissa into the song. Achiko wondered who Nerissa was. Izuku explained that Nerissa was someone he had met once when he had been temporarily turned into a girl while buying clothes. They had bonded briefly, and Nerissa had asked if she could commission a song for her girlfriend, so he had made the song and used her name. Setsuna observed that the song came across like a hunger song. Izuku agreed and said that Nerissa had requested that tone. Play with fire, take me higher. If someone wanted to play that game, they had to say his name. Mirko said she would use that song for her next public appearance. Ryukyu scolded her about such choices. Izuku said he would make sure to include it for both of their events. Ryukyu flushed with embarrassment while Mirko laughed. They were burning up the floor, moving to a vibe that couldn't be ignored, a sea of embers dancing into the night. The best was yet to come and this person was unlike anyone else. How could he pass up someone shining so bright? There was a scent filling the air and the other person remained unaware that they were falling fast under his spell, which didn't seem fair. When he was inside the illusion, he felt like he could be anyone and everyone. Logic faded away for the evening. Someone needed to say his name. He repeated the chorus, Nerissa, and kept urging play with fire, take me higher, telling them that if they wanted to play that game, they had to say his name. Midnight revealed she planned to use this song for her surprise. Empty Lady offered to collaborate on that plan, and Midnight agreed enthusiastically. Mandalay also volunteered to join them. Ragdoll admitted she had not expected so many to sign on. Pixie Bob commented that their Shino could be surprisingly charming. Wednesday observed that Izuku was a very attentive caregiver to Koda. Mandalay glanced down, blushing and visibly flustered. Enid snapped at Wednesday for speaking so bluntly. Aizawa already felt a headache coming on. Present Mike remarked that he did not think anyone would be able to stop the conversation now, and Aizawa admitted that was what worried him. The group continued listening to Izuku's songs, a relaxing break from their usual routines. The randomizer flicked and displayed earphones. Jiro decided it was her turn to choose. She reached into the box and selected one. She dedicated the choice called Heart Attack to herself and the caring sister Kendo, reflecting that having experienced being a woman many times had taught her that people express love in different ways, and she hoped the song would convey what she truly felt for them both. Izuku began singing with a guarded voice, describing how he kept his defenses up because he did not want to fall in love. He admitted that the thought of truly letting go felt as terrifying as a heart attack. He narrated how he had never risked his heart, how he had never said yes to the right person, and how, until now, he had always been sure of himself. Around this person, though, he felt inadequate and vulnerable. He confessed that when he pretended not to care, he could be carefree and reckless, but that was not who he was with this person. He expressed that the other made him want to act different, to adopt little, nervous gestures and to worry about appearances. The emotion made him glow, but he still tried to hide it, keeping his defenses up because he was afraid of falling in love. He repeated that fear, likening it to the panic of a sudden, overwhelming physical reaction. He went on to say that he had never broken a sweat for anyone else, but when this person came around he felt paralyzed. Every time he tried to be himself around them it came out wrong, and the struggle between pleasure and pain left him breathless. Despite the confusion, the attraction made him feel alive even as it hurt. The song shifted into a different language. Izuku sang that when the beloved appeared, the world seemed to slow. He said that when the beloved smiled, their eyes shone in a way that left him breathless. He promised that he would be there until they grew old together, that he would love them and catch them if they ever fell. He vowed loyalty and a lifelong presence. Setsuna noted that Izuku's high note had been incredible. Jiro reflected that Izuku really did understand them. Kendo and Jiro spoke together, acknowledging that they had never been the most traditionally feminine in their group and that they'd struggled with how others their age often favored different body types. Kendo added that Izuku had never made them feel inadequate. Jiro recalled how Izuku had always complimented them, whether for their quirks or simply for who they were, and said they were grateful to be with him. Izuku offered a quick, friendly hug to them both to acknowledge their words. The randomizer then presented the next name, Yui, who quietly chose a song and returned to her chair. The randomizer's displayed message to Toru and Kinoko appeared, saying that being with them was always a delight, expressing love for Toru's bubbly personality and Kinoko's mushroom-like charm, and hoping to see it continue forever. Momo asked if Izuku had been singing in another language. Wednesday explained that he had been singing in Tagalog, the language of the Philippines. Kinoko wondered if Izuku was wooing them in a different language. Wednesday said that it struck her as romantic. Enid teased Wednesday for always swooning when someone spoke to her in a different language, especially their native one. Izuku's Tagalog lines, translated, said that when the beloved smiled their eyes shone like no other. When they looked at him, he asked them to look only at him. He promised to be there as they both aged, to love them and catch them if they fell, and to remain theirs for life. Wednesday summarized that Izuku had told them he loved the way their eyes shone when they smiled, that their beauty made him weak, that he wanted them to look only at him, and that he would be with them until they were old. She explained that he promised to love them as best he could and to catch them when they fell, declaring himself theirs forever. Toru and Kinoko both flushed deeply at Wednesday's explanation and at Izuku's affectionate expression toward them. No one had ever made him feel like this except her, the one who felt like a goddess in his life. He told her not to be afraid and not to worry, that he would be there when she was alone. He admitted he could not escape her overwhelming beauty and invited her closer. He asked her to look into his eyes and not to look at anyone else, declaring that she belonged to him now and no one else. He promised to be there until they grew old, to love her, to hold on and never let go, and to be hers for life. He vowed that even when her back was bent and her hair had turned white, he would dance with her until their eyes closed. He said he had no other wishes. As long as she was with him, he would be content for life. Wednesday noted that of course he would say something like that. Pony asked what he had said. Wednesday explained that he had promised to dance with them until their eyes closed when they were old and gray, and that he had nothing more to wish for as long as they were with him. She repeated her request that he look into her eyes and not look at others, insisting that he belonged to her alone. She reiterated her promise to stay until they were old, to love and hold on, and to be hers for life. Achiko observed that the song sounded like something one would play at home while doing chores and having fun together. Mina suggested that they could bake together and playfully toss flour at each other with the song as background. The randomizer selected Ibra next. Ibra stood and carefully chose a song, dedicating it to Yu and Namuri. Midnight acknowledged that it was now their turn. Lady wondered aloud whether the dedication meant he was always thinking of them. When Izuku's selection began to play, its lyrics proved inappropriate for a student. The group reacted with a mix of embarrassed laughter and gentle admonishment. Mandalay and Ryukyu intervened by spraying water at them to break the mood, and Ryukyu reminded everyone to keep things appropriate for school. A brief, neutral pause followed as the music changed and the gathering shifted to a lighter, more comfortable mood. The rest of the girls looked toward Midnight and Lady and found their seats empty. They then turned to Izuku's seat and found it empty as well. Jiro and Enid heard footsteps and noticed where they had gone. Jiro called out that Midnight and MT Lady were taking Green away, and Aizawa ordered Namuri to drop the problem child. Near the door, Namuri and Yu flanked Izuku as they led him toward the exit, smiling. Midnight insisted they were simply keeping a promise from the song, and MT Lady asked for only an hour or two. Rias pleaded with Namuri to bring Izuku back, suggesting they could do whatever they planned later at night. Akino agreed that later, when everyone was mostly asleep, would be better. Midnight conceded that this was a better idea. Namuri and Yu returned Izuku to his seat, and they resumed theirs. Izuku sat dazed from the commotion and the playful teasing he had received. As everyone calmed down, Izuku was seated between Ryukyu and Mandalay to prevent further mishaps. The randomizer fired up again and displayed a picture of a rock. Kaminari guessed it was a boulder. Bakugou corrected him, calling it a rock. Kirishima enthusiastically identified with it, saying it was like him, hard as a rock. Kirishima reached into the box and took a card, then wondered aloud why the song's title repeated the word song. Izuku explained that it was the campfire song, and the music began to play. Izuku introduced the campfire song and led everyone in a playful campfire tune, spelling out the chorus as he sang and encouraging everyone to join in. Mirio contributed a rhythmic beat, and Tamaki was prompted to participate as well. Izuku kept the energy up, urging the group to sing along, and the room filled with spirited, light-hearted singing. The others watched with amused, stunned expressions while Koda and Eri seemed to enjoy it. Izuku took a sip of his drink just as the randomizer selected another name, Sparkling. Aoyama announced that it was his time to shine, spun and shimmered as he chose a CD, and dedicated the performance to 3 acquaintances he mentioned. Aoyama performed a bright, romantic song about meeting someone, feeling warmth and sunlit joy, and losing oneself in an embrace. After the song, Setsuna asked Izuku whether he had ever had any record deals, noting that he could sing across styles. Izuku replied that he had never released his music. Kinoko asked if he would be open to releasing it. Izuku said maybe, though he did not know how or where to release it. Present Mike offered to play the tracks on his radio show and help get them onto a music streaming service, and Nizu agreed that it was a great idea and that UA would handle it once they had finished listening to all of his music. Aoyama's music continued to express a longing to travel together, to dance under the sky, to take chances on love without regrets, and to build a life where shared smiles and presence felt like paradise. The room listened as the hopeful, romantic mood lingered. Take a breath. Maybe I'm not thinking straight. Can never tell what to say. Just want to bask in your gaze. Is it true? 'Cause all the things that you say are swimming laps in my brain. So baby, take my heart. 'Cause I can't take the rush. And we could travel round the world. See you smiling whenever I start to blush. Because I want to be your girl. Lose myself in your embrace. Lose myself in your embrace. Let's start a life together. You and I. And we can dance across the sky. There's nothing like the way I feel inside. Upon your presence, paradise. They say that the saddest love is one with no regrets. And so, that's why we shouldn't fear the ending. I see you smiling as the world around me ends. Sure. I just want to be with you one more day. One more day. Someday soon. I'm sorry that it had to end this way. I'm sure we will meet again someday. Jiro complimented Izuku on his songwriting, saying that he knew how to make great songs. Izuku thanked Jiro and admitted he really wanted to write songs together, calling Izuku his songbird in a playful tone. Jiro responded by telling him to be quiet. Momo suggested inviting more of the girls Izuku was getting to know, her tone teasing but also serious. Nizu explained that he had already arranged more people to listen, believing that the more people heard Izuku's songs, the more they would spread, and he laughed enthusiastically as the staff around him grew nervous. Everyone fell silent as Nizu kept laughing about his plan to use Izuku's music to grow their influence. Wednesday observed that the Addams family would certainly help with that plan. Enid scolded Wednesday lightly, telling her not to talk about taking over the world. Wednesday apologized and translated her sentiment into English as an apology to Izuku, noting how her family adored their beloved and would do anything for him, even if it meant achieving big ambitions on his behalf. Izuku suggested they focus on releasing the songs first and asked Momo to call him her little storm cloud. Wednesday agreed, saying she would do anything for him. Kaminari checked if people were taking notes, and Mineta affirmed that he was. Awais asked if everyone would share their notes, and Kaminari assured him they would. The randomizer displayed a picture of grapes. Mineta hoped for something good and rifled through CDs until he found one called Do Nothing Day, noting that it sounded like the perfect mood. Sato asked when they had ever taken a Do Nothing Day. Present Mike laughed and said that was something Shota needed. A cheerful song about kindness and softness played, filled with imagery of peppermint, pink flowers, bunnies, and happy tunes, urging everyone to slow down, throw away their to-do lists, and enjoy a do-nothing day full of sunshine, cuddles, puppies, laughter, and simple pleasures. The chorus encouraged going with the flow and appreciating the small, peaceful moments. Kaminari admitted he would love a do-nothing day. Mina agreed, reminding everyone how often they trained and faced attacks, and that Izuku especially drew trouble. Izuku protested at being labeled a trouble magnet. Momo insisted that Izuku deserved a real day off more than anyone. Enid supported Momo, telling Izuku she loved his heroic spirit and that he should rest. Midnight suggested they could enjoy relaxing activities together if he rested. Mandalay intervened, insisting that he needed to actually rest and do nothing, and she playfully sprayed Midnight in the face. Midnight teased Mandalay about her reaction, and Mandalay denied the implication, flustered. The randomizer pinged again with an image of ice and fire. Todoroki stepped up and chose a line titled Heavy is the Crown, noting that while the crown is heavy to bear alone, they could share the burden. Nizu praised the wisdom in Todoroki's choice. Rain poured in the scene and a melancholy song played about feeling low despite aiming high, about knocking on doors and recognizing how stories sometimes end, and about the internal struggle of trying to stay strong when feeling cold inside. The lyrics captured a sense of unresolved emotion and quiet acceptance. Tashinori complimented Midoriya on his ability to motivate those around him. Nisa declared that this was precisely why Midoriya was the perfect person to push a plan for world domination and then laughed loudly. Eri asked her father why the rat man was laughing like that. Koda admitted he did not understand Nizu's meaning. Izuku explained that they would understand when they were older. Nizu's cackling continued for another 30 minutes before he finally calmed down. Nizu had finally settled after his fit of laughter. The staff silently hoped Midoriya would be safe from Nizu's schemes. The randomizer, as if pitying them, chimed and revealed another name, Akino. Akino chuckled and noted that it was her turn. She carefully sifted through Izuku's discs until she found one that appealed to her. The disc was labeled Travel, to live life fully and freely to our heart's content. Nizu asked whether Midoriya would like to elaborate. Izuku said he believed the song would speak for itself. Nizu said he looked forward to it. Midoriya sang in Korean, and the lyrics translated into English described leaving and letting go, turning off a phone and asking not to be sought, and waving a gentle goodbye. The song recalled youth shining like an endless dream, the moments when everything seemed to fall apart, and the decision to leave out of exhaustion and a need for freedom. The chorus repeated a resolve to fly away. The song continued with images of travel and escape. Take me to London, Paris, New York, falling into beautiful cities, like a bird, freely flying and finally able to breathe. It asked to be taken to a new world, anywhere, if it meant escaping a frustrating place. Shining light, a bright youth, and the freedom to breathe and fly were repeated. Midoriya then sang about resting and leaving, turning off his laptop and asking not to be held back, waving and saying see you. The refrain returned to the memory of youth shining like a dream, collapsing and being ruined, and the tired, desperate decision to leave. The final declaration was that he would fly away. Kinoko observed that there were English lines this time. Momo asked whether the song was Korean and whether Midoriya had sung in Korean. Midoriya explained that he had learned a few languages when he had been quirkless and that it had been a good use of his time. Take me to London, Paris, New York City. Falling into these beautiful cities. Like I'm a bird, like the flying birds. Freely fly, I can breathe. Take me to a new world anywhere, wherever it is. If I can escape this frustrating place. Shining light, my shining youth. Freely fly, I can breathe. I can fly away. Fly always, always, always. Take me to a new world anywhere, wherever it is. If I can escape this frustrating place. Shining light. A song played, its lyrics speaking of children left in the dark, of choosing to burn out or to light a spark, and of coming together with a promise never to surrender. Sniffles could be heard again, and this time they came from Hawks. Hawks insisted that he had been that kid too and wondered aloud if the day was about him, claiming that these songs were all about him. Izuku laughed quietly at Hawks's dramatic reaction, surprised that the pro-hero would resonate so strongly with his passion projects. Endeavor handed Hawks a box of tissues that Snipe had passed along and mentioned that he did not want Hawks's snot on him because he still had a date with Ray after this. Hawks laughed, accepting that Endeavor cared in his own gruff way. The randomizer chimed and displayed a unicorn. Nemuri pointed out that it was Eri and that the group wanted Eri to pick a song. Eri asked for help from Nemuri, calling her Mama Nem, and Nemuri immediately agreed, charmed. Eri considered the options and chose a Violet Case. Nemuri saw the label and noted that it was the song titled Ami. Kyoka suddenly stood up, objecting strongly to that choice. Izuku explained that it was the song he and Kyoka had written together and that Kyoka had been the one singing it originally. Momo said she wanted to hear it. Kyoka began to protest, but Eri looked at her with pleading, puppy dog eyes and asked to listen. Nemuri teased Kyoka about refusing that face. Kyoka sighed and relented. Being on the receiving end of Eri's plea was irresistible, especially after Eri had called her mama as well. Eri climbed onto Kyoka's lap and settled in, excited to hear her mama sing again after enjoying Kyoka's performance during the culture festival. Kyoka began to sing the song they had written, filling the room with energetic, confident lines. Her lyrics painted images of relentless determination and athletic grace. She declared that she could run and pursue any challenge, that nothing could stop her as she closed the gap, and that she moved with quick, light-footed precision. She compared herself to a blazing bonfire and a bright, explosive spark, insisting simply and proudly that she was herself. Eri expressed that she wanted to be like Kyoka. Kyoka reassured her that all her mothers would help her with everything she wanted to do, and Eri's eyes lit up at the promise. Nemuri leaned close to Izuku and, teasing, asked how many kids he wanted. Izuku spat out the water he was drinking in surprise, and Inko giggled at the idea of how many grandchildren she and Tashinori might get to spoil. Kyoka's song continued with playful, vivid metaphors. She compared herself to a fresh stretch of blacktop blazing beneath someone's feet, to a striking force whose movements could surprise, and to the best of the best, flavorful and exceptional. The lyrics carried a sense of unstoppable momentum and showmanship. Kaminari curiously asked what soup du jour meant. Momo explained that it meant soup of the day, and Kaminari declared he would be chicken soup, earning a playful compliment from Kirishima about being manly and comforting. The others exchanged bewildered looks at the sudden, light-hearted tangent, while Koda and Eri watched, puzzled. Kyoka sang on, describing herself as smooth and sharp, the last and best stick of gum in the pack, and a strong, fast-talking force of nature. She used lively, rhythmic images, a locomotive that would not stop, a hot apple pie with a cherry on top, a crowd-pleasing performer who could win it all in the final inning, all delivered with spirited confidence. Several classmates cheered Kyoka on enthusiastically. Setsuna applauded her energy, Rumi noted approvingly that the punk girl had spunk, Mina suggested that Kyoka should write more songs like that, and Toru praised the chemistry between Kyoka and Izuku. Kyoka blushed and twirled her ear jacks shyly, considering the compliments. The song moved through more metaphors, comparing Kyoka to the decisive move in a climactic match, to a heart-shaped locket on a chain, to a striking presence with both sweetness and bite, and to an action-packed double feature on a Friday night. The performance left the room buzzing with admiration and warmth, and Eri beamed on Kyoka's lap, content and inspired. Eri immediately cheered for her mother Kyoka as the song ended. Everyone offered their praise, and Kyoka accepted with a blush. Principal Nizu suggested forming a course or club for music, noting how talented the students were. Present Mike joked that Nizu only wanted their songs for world domination, and Nizu admitted with a laugh that if it worked, it worked. His laughter sent tea spilling and the others stepped back from the school principal's playful energy. After Nizu calmed down, the listening resumed. The randomizer flashed a picture of galvanized steel, and Tetsu leapt to his feet, eager to pick a manly song. He grabbed a case immediately and explained that the song's themes fire, endurance, and standing up against fate felt like a rallying cry for a brighter future. The music spoke of chilled nights, weary hearts that kept going, and the strength found in clasped hands and brave hearts. Hawks remarked that the song had a familiar feel, and Endeavor described it as a call to action. Tetsu and Kirishima stood together, embraced, and wiped away strong, emotional tears at how motivating Midoriya's choice was. Nizu praised Midoriya for his persistent defiance of fate. Midoriya's selection encouraged listeners to ignore stale rules, chase light through obstacles, and be ready for whatever arrived. Tetsu thanked Midoriya for such an inspiring song, and Kirishima admired his way with words. Momo observed that the idea of Izuku shaping the world no longer felt so far-fetched. One student added that their parents had been so taken with Izuku that they jokingly offered to take over the world for him, and Izuku had politely declined, saying their acceptance was enough. The randomizer spun again and showed an image of sugar cubes. Sato stood up to lighten the mood and chose a song meant to speak for those who had been overlooked about relying on oneself when no one had been there and wondering how things might differ if more care had been shown. Present Mike commented that Sato was finally bringing out powerful material. The song painted a portrait of a restless young person pushed aside by the world, someone who had to depend on themselves. The room grew quiet and reflective as the music explored the consequences of neglect and the yearning for attention. A short neutral pause bridged the moment before the next selection loaded. Kaminari observed that this was different. Siro noted that it felt like something ominous was coming. Nizu reflected that the piece pertained to the consequences of bullying, a problem that had existed before quirks. He asked Midoriya if he was referring to violent episodes like school shootings. Izuku explained that, back when he had been quirkless, he had been bullied often, as his mother had told everyone, and he had researched the issue. He said he had written the song both to vent and to raise awareness that some people, when pushed too far, might take desperate actions. Nizu called it a fair warning to those who abused their power, and Hawks asked whether Nizu had evidence about the HSPC's crimes. Nizu refused to say. His refusal sent a chill through Hawks. He supported Nizu's stance but was also wary of what the cunning principal might do. The randomizer dinged as it showed the next name, Akino. Akino wondered if it was her turn and hoped for a good choice. She approached the boxes and noticed a case decorated with an image of a man and woman walking along a beach. When she opened it, she found a note on the inside cover dedicating the first love song to Akino and Rias. Rias reacted with tears in her eyes as she asked if the first love song had been for them. Izuku explained that most of the songs he had written before meeting them had been about his life and the pain he had felt, but meeting them had brought a new, genuine emotion, romantic love. Izuku's song imagined quiet mornings and moonlit nights by the ocean, simple moments of companionship and the wish to remain by their side. He described picturing them together, trusting that the universe would bring them back to each other and promising to keep his feelings safe. A short pause bridged the moment. Izuku dedicated a song that imagined falling in love, napping under moonlit skies, picturing someone with the ocean's colors on their face, leaving his heart with their air, and asking to fly together and stay forever. When the song ended, Rias and Akino tackled him into a hug, crying happy tears at the dedication. Nizu suggested they all get some lunch and reconvene in 2 hours. Everyone agreed, and the girls joined the cuddle pile with the two children while Inko took pictures. Lunch ended and everyone returned to their seats. Conversations flowed as people chatted with each other. Sato praised the beef stroganoff from Lunch Rush, saying it had been delicious. Kaminari agreed, calling the cook a miracle worker in the kitchen. The randomizer chimed and Shota stood to pick a CD. He chose one titled Free and noticed a note on the back addressed to Toga, recalling a night under the stars when they had talked freely about the world and expressing a hope that she felt the same. The note promised he would always wait. Kendo asked about Toga. Ochako identified her as Himiko Toga, the girl she and Tsuyu had encountered during summer camp, and asked Izuku when he had spoken with her. Izuku explained that a few months earlier he had run into her outside a convenience store. She had bought ice cream while he had gotten a can of coffee. He had told her he would not hurt her and wanted to talk. They had lain on the grass in a nearby park and talked about everything. He had offered to help and told her he could wait for her answer. That night they had written and recorded a song together, and the group had just heard her voice on it. Izuku's verse had described trying to hide and failing, feeling unable to hit the right notes and finding words caught in his throat, struggling to smile and feeling suffocated, but finally being able to breathe when he was with her. He reflected on how she described herself as no good but how she felt good for him, and he voiced his hope that they could change together if they stayed by each other's side. He questioned why it felt right every time he let her in, why he felt he could tell her anything, and he acknowledged the secrets and past damage that kept him bound. He admitted both of them had darker sides and wondered what would happen if they both tried facing what they were running from, imagining that they could be free if they faced the past and let its weight go. Toga's verse had spoken of losing perspective with time and of hope being painful enough to forget, yet of him breaking through her darkness and waking parts of her she had thought buried for good. She described being lost between feeling like an imposter and the darker parts of herself, swept along by voices pointing toward no end, and how being with him made everything feel easier because he saw her in a way no one else did. Together they hesitated but admitted a mutual desire to trust and to keep coming back to each other. They invited the possibility of taking each other's hands, healing what was broken, and finding freedom by facing and letting go of the past. The duet carried a steady plea for healing and connection, ending with a shared sense of hope. When the music stopped, the room was filled with sniffles and quiet crying. Everyone respected the moment, feeling Izuku and Toga's emotions poured into the song. Enid sniffled and pleaded that he find Toga again, insisting she needed a big hug and asking him to save her, expressing faith that he could. Wednesday handed Enid a rainbow handkerchief so she could wipe her tears. The randomizer displayed a crying icon before landing on Away's name. Away's excitedly grabbed a CD from the front of the box labeled Hole in My Heart and noted that it sounded like some deep stuff. Izuku's song played, a quiet confession about rainy days and the ache behind the eyes, a promise to find strength and to shine a light from a hollow place in the heart. Rainy days, won't you go away? I don't know why I've been feeling this way. I look in the mirror and don't like what I see. I don't like the person staring back at me. I have to gather myself before I get weak. It's okay, show them who you are. Everybody hurts, everybody's got scars. It's okay to stand in the dark. Shine a little light from the hole in my heart. Cloudy days are here to stay. I don't know why I've been feeling this way. I keep my head down and pray that no one can see. The tears I hide so you don't see the pain in me. I'm thunder, I am rain. I will set you free from the hurricane. Through the fire and the flames we all get burned and we burn through the pain. I will help you through, I will be the light for you. It's okay, show them who you are. Everybody hurts, everybody's got scars. It's okay to stand in the dark. Shine a little light from the hole in my heart. Legends aren't born that way but by deeds. Bloodlines denote nothing. How do towering trees grow from a seed? Achievements rise from the ash. We endure and suffer, lose and bleed. Still we clash against the sky. You and I may be weak like reeds, but chasing flames is carved into our creed. Cleave the darkness and seize the light. Daybreak is meant to be free. We will shatter the ties. Time wears away lives and bygones, leaving faith to resound. Pioneering souls strive to flash in the gloom. Though the journey is filled with wounds and tolls, we still clash against the sky and rise toward the light. A brand new dawn is within reach. We are going to make it untied. Momo recalled that the song had come from the time when Izuku left UA and became a vigilante. Izuku explained that when his friends had brought him back, the song had been at the back of his mind and he had secretly recorded it before they left for the fight. The assembly fell silent as a soft chime from the randomizer sounded and an image of a white rat appeared. Everyone froze except Izuku, Inko, and Wednesday. "Nizu, pleased," said luck seemed to favor him and it was his turn. He calmly approached the box, rummaged through it, and selected one option, noting that it looked promising and that he could feel something special in the one labeled Proi Proi. Mina shouted excitedly that Izumi was back. Jiro observed that the vocals were fiercer now. Tetsu asked Kirishima why he was crying. Kirishima admitted he did not know but felt moved, and he noticed that Tetsu was crying too. Tetsu confessed that the song was calling to him. Nizu reflected that people were sometimes weak and easily swayed, and that in the fight for goodness they might forget they were not gods who could withstand everything. He spoke of endurance and the need to remember human limits even while striving for what was right. Later, Nizu called the song interesting and wondered when Mr. Midoriya would decide to start taking over the world. Wednesday said that would happen when he accepted her family's request to conquer the world for him. Enid asked what Gomez had said about that, and Wednesday recalled that Gomez had believed the world should know the goodness of Izuku's heart and heroic spirit. Kaminari suggested that the song could play during the final battle of an anime or game, where emotional stakes would give it power. Nizu agreed, praising the idea and noting that the youth were enamored of online games and could be reached through epic gameplay paired with amazing background music. At that moment Kaminari realized he had made a mistake, and Aizawa assigned him extra homework for the comment that might give the rat more ideas for conquest. "I couldn't write when my heart was full of grief. I drifted through the days, and as cheesy as it sounds, I met someone special. She helped me find my way forward."